Activating live stream. Adding GPU compute. Activating Intel QuickSync. And with that, the live stream's officially started. Here we go. It's Unfiltered 242 pre-show! Mr. Chase is en route, and the overtime is about to start. Well, just a minute, really. We got to get going. All right, so, yeah, let's see here. We are in the green zone for go for Unfilter. Hello, red lights. We have red lights. Doom, doom, boom, 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 ba, ah. All right, let's warm up with this, and then we'll get started.
Other question. We understand your wife has hired a lawyer to represent her in a possible probe into a land deal that fell apart. This was back when she was president of Burlington College.
No,
of course,
it was not
in your
when
state.
she was. Oh, let me say a word on that. You know.
Yeah. Well, I just want to ask you: do you know she's under FBI investigation?
Excuse me.
My wife is about the most honest person I know. When she came to that college, it was failing financially and academically. When she left it, it was in better shape than it ever been. 5 years later, just at the moment, coincidentally, no doubt, when I'm a candidate for President of the United States, Donald Trump's campaign manager, a vice chairman of the Republican Party in Vermont, launched this investigation. So all that I will tell you now, Aaron, it is a sad state of affairs in America.
Right.
Not only when we have, politicians being destroyed, when there are attacks against elected officials, when you go after your wife, people's wives, that is pretty pathetic. And that's where we are right now. That's about all that I'm going to say.
That's about all he's going to say to that. That's about all he's going to say to that. Boy, they are trying to fuck you, Bernie. Sorry about that, man. Whew. Welcome to the beast, though, I guess, right? I mean, that's kind of how it goes, I think. All right, chat room, you could probably start banging suggestion as we go, but right now we're going to do the overtime. Oh, who did that? I am right here. I can hear that. It's disgusting. What? I did that? Oh. What's that? Uh-huh. I don't have an IFB. Mm-hmm. There. All right. Okay. There's no producer giving me lines right now. Right. Okay. So, my mic. Yeah. My mic's open right now. I'm saying all this on the air. It's super embarrassing. Yeah, it's a SpongeBob bit. All right. Here we go. Oh, Bernie. Yeah, you knew it was coming, didn't you? Whoa. I'm not ready for... God, jeez, it just jumps out, man. It just jumps out. It's just... That's what she said. Here we go. It's overtime. A little early today. I'm not quite prepared. I'm not ready for it. But if you hear that noise, that's my wrist brace. I have one of these. Can you see? Yeah, you can see it. I have one of these RSI wrist brace on, and it kind of sounds like a diaper a little bit. I just feel like. I feel a little self-conscious about it. All right, here we go. In 3. In 2.
Warning. Life support failure on all decks. Abandoned ship. Level 9 authorization required.
It's overtime, brought to you by our patrons at patreon.com/unfilter.
Security authorization accepted.
Thank you to our new patrons this week, Julie Thunderbeaver, I'm the Dude Man, Daniel, Philip GQ, Larry, and Justin L. You are our new subscribers to patreon.com/unfilter, and this segment is dedicated to you. Patreon.com/unfilter. Thank you to our patrons over there. Let's bring up the music, Mr. Jenkins. Give us little tunes for the background here. Here we go. So the overtime kicks off, as always, with our own Nancy segment. Now, usually, your good friend, your buddy Chris here, is sitting here telling you about the rot in the corporate Democratic Party. The corporatist Democratic rot. The establishment, like your Nancy Pelosi's. Normally, that's the case I make for you. But this week, Nancy's had a bad week. It starts in her press conferences, as always, where she repeats herself, she garbles, she sort of asks strange questions, talks about singing her own praises. It's odd.
It is, I always quote Martin Luther King in so many ways. But in this score, he said, said, the ballot. Legislation. Your life. He clobbers the states, making them unable to meet the needs of their people. Every attack provokes a massive reaction. Trump care inflicts great suffering on veterans, on seniors, on working families, on rural communities.
On what?
And as I said, working families. So
yeah.
You want me to sing my praises? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Why should I? Well, I'm a master legislator.
That's right.
I am a
Everybody giggles at that.
Strategic, politically astute leader.
She has blackmail on people.
I am my leadership is recognized by many around the country, and that is why I'm able to.
So she's a brand.
Attract the support that I do.
She's able to leverage good, large donors.
Wouldn't it be better if all the press were focusing on the Senate heartless, mean-spirited bill? Many times I had not really wanted to run again when they called upon me to do so. This time I did. The election of Donald Trump. And that this takes the knowledge and experience that I have, says she, immodestly.
What was that at the end there? Hold on. Did she slip into the third person?
Takes the knowledge and experience that I have, says she, immodestly.
I love it. But not everybody's loving it. And many Democrats have called for Nancy Pelosi to step down after those recent losses. They're looking for blood.
House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi became a member of Congress through a special election 30 years ago.
Isn't that interesting? Let's reflect on that for a moment. So she got in 30 years ago via a special election. Now, that's kind of interesting because all of this hoopla is about the failure to win in special elections. Just an interesting little coincidence.
She has led House Democrats for the last 14 years, including a stint as the first female speaker. But the Democratic Party's losing streak in recent special elections prompted some House colleagues to question her leadership.
Nancy Pelosi was a great speaker. She is a great leader, but her time has come and gone.
I think it's time for change, and these election results frankly show that.
If we're going to regain the majority in 2018,
these are all Democrats, obviously.
We have to have new leadership.
You think Nancy Pelosi is more toxic than Donald Trump?
You know what? The honest answer is, in some areas of the country, yes, she is.
I've been saying that. It's a bad brand. The thing is that for a lot of people that voted Trump in, he's the mover and shaker. All the shade they're throwing at him is just all fits with that narrative. But Nancy Pelosi is genuinely a bad brand, and it's why guys like Sanders have gotten so much momentum. Now that's a lot of Democrats coming out. I should mention that is. I mean, they could be saying this stuff behind the scenes to each other for years, but to come out on these very political, very, very public, in these very politically charged times that is a very intentional act.
That's the honest answer.
Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi, good morning.
How awkward that she was sitting there watching all of that, isn't it? Isn't that awkward? CBS totally just dropped all of that right there, and then here she is. They're actually, I mean, that's playing a little tough.
Pelosi, good morning.
Good morning.
You want to respond to what you did?
Well, those sons of bitches.
Yeah, like I'm here and we're hearing all these other people. They had their time on TV.
Fuck those guys.
This is such a small item. It isn't about me. Right now, our fight is about the Affordable Care Act. I've always had a challenge in the caucus right from the start.
You know, she's right in a sense. So it's funny because Nancy Pelosi always says that Donald Trump is trying to distract, but that's exactly what she's doing. She's deflecting and distracting with that answer. So her answer that the fight is about health care right now, that's true right this very moment. The fight wouldn't be about health care if you had won some elections, though. You see, if you had won some elections, there wouldn't be any fight.
This is such a small item. It isn't about me.
No, you see, it is about you, because in the big picture, the big item, i.e. the cause of the current problem, you are part of it. It is actually all about this, but you can talk about the immediate problem, sure.
Small item. It isn't about me. Right now, our fight is about the Affordable Care Act. I've always had a challenge in the caucus right from the start when I was first elected.
Okay, but let's look at this, too. You have been losing special elections.
Okay.
And four of them, and people say it's because the Democratic Party, of which you're a leader, has no message.
Now, listen how she very politely blames Obama.
Your only message is anti-Trump.
No, that isn't true. First of all, let me just say, these are 4 races we would never have chosen to go into. They were chosen by Donald Trump.
Okay, that's right. I forgot about that part. First, of course, it's Donald Trump's fault.
4 races were double-digit lead for the Republicans in previous elections. We picked up 70 points.
Yeah, I mean, we lost, but we lost less than normal.
25 and one race, 15, 20, like that in the 4 races.
Nobody's buying this, Nancy.
The people in those states are very happy because we've pushed.
Oh, they're thrilled right now. Those liberals over there are just thrilled at that loss.
The Republicans very far back. Me, I like to win.
Oh.
But this was, the people in Georgia worked very hard, in Montana, all of those places, and they've made great progress leading up to their government. No, they lost. But again, there are 70 races.
But they lost less bad.
That are easier for us than any of those. We would never have chosen to go in. There was so much excitement in the country to act against the election in November.
The subtext here with that is they funneled the Democrats, the establishment Democrats, funneled $32 million just into the Georgia election. And the sort of unofficial word on the street is that Nancy Pelosi was sort of behind directing that funding.
So this isn't, these people were against me last November. They started this before.
Because you've been a problem for years.
The fact is this, I led in 05 and 06 to take us to the majority, became Speaker of the House.
Now, this is where she says it's Obama's fault. Look, you know, when she started up, she took everybody to the majority. I mean, she just said that. I started and I brought us up to the majority. It wasn't until that black guy got in office that things got screwed up.
These people were against me last November. They started this before. The fact is this. I led in 05 and 06 to take us to the majority, became Speaker of the House. President Obama became president. He was our spokesperson for 8 years. We just lost the election. We could write a message, but the fact is we need our members to write the message. And they know full well that that is something we're working with the Senate to go forward.
Why don't you think you should step aside?
Let me tell you why I should stay instead.
Oh!
Because I'm a master legislator.
There it is again. Master legislator. Now, what does that mean? I mean, that could be anything. That could just be that the party has pushed certain things, and because the establishment of the party pushes these certain things, you sign off on it as well, and it's been successful because the Democrats put a lot of weight behind it. I suppose you're also claiming some credit for Obamacare.
I'm an experienced
fundraiser. You make money. You raise money. That's why Nancy Pelosi is in power. She's the largest fundraiser. And on top of that, I could be wrong, but maybe somebody in the chat room could double check for me. I think she's one of the richest. I'm not actually. I think she's one of the richest representatives in D.C., but I could be wrong now that I'm thinking about that. But maybe somebody in the chat room could confirm, because I think she's also just incredibly wealthy herself. She's famously a huge money raiser for the Democrats.
I'm experienced in terms of knowing the institutional memory of the Congress. If Hillary Clinton had won, I might have gone home. But with Donald Trump in the White House, with a Republican majority,
he got his name right. She called him Trump, not Bush.
Both houses, no way.
After President Trump won, President Obama came out. I remember being at the White House, and he said Democrats are characterized as coastal, liberal, latte-sipping, politically correct, out-of-touch folks.
Californians, like Nancy.
We have to be in those communities. How do you do that in 2018?
Well, he was just president for 8 years. I don't think he was describing himself. But in that way.
He was describing the challenge you have in 2018.
Well, we always have a challenge. And that is, again, I take it back to the Affordable Care Act. So many people benefited from it. Some of them voted for Donald Trump. So we have to, I always say to people, if it happens with your spouse as well. Mm-hmm. If you think you're communicating and they don't think you're communicating, you're not communicating. So it isn't about our agenda. It isn't even about our message. It's about our communication of it. And right now, this week, we're in a fight for our lives and the lives of many people in our country, because we must defeat what is going on in the Senate.
Woo! You said you're a master legislator. Let's see your sense of where the Congress is.
Well, did she say that or Bader?
What kind of bill will come out of the Senate? And we know that. Will the president and will the Republicans get enough votes in the Senate to pass it?
I don't think anybody knows that right now. Maybe Mitch McConnell does.
So it looks like WW found something. There's nothing too super current, but from the Hill at least, it looks like WW found a report that says Pelosi's net worth by 2011 had grown 62%. So, I mean, who knows where those kind of memes come from. So let's stop here, because they just kind of get off into the weeds now about stuff that's actually already out of date. This interview, there's some key words in here. See if you can recognize what they are that piqued my interest.
Now she says, she does help. She's raised a whole heck of a lot of money.
Talking about Pelosi, obviously.
She says she's a master legislator. You disagree?
Oh, there's no question she is a prolific fundraiser. She raised millions and millions of dollars.
Is that a master legislator?
But what has that money gotten us in the last 4 election cycles?
So money's not enough, you're saying, anymore?
Well, I think that I'm not saying that whoever comes in is going to be able to raise as much money as she is, but the money will be raised. But the fact is when you take a look at those last 4 election cycles, all that money has been for naught.
Money, money, money.
So, Congressman, you were
part
of a closed-door meeting yesterday with people of like minds who want to see Nancy Pelosi go. What did you decide to do? What specific action did you come up with?
Well, if you can imagine, there was 12 members in that meeting for about 12 minutes because we got called for votes. So there was lots of opinions and not much got accomplished. What we agreed to do is meet when we come back to Washington, D.C. next week. So I'd have more to say about that, I think, when we come back next week.
Now, let's start listening to some of the wording here.
So no specifics. Look, Nancy Pelosi's been leader for 2003, and one of the reasons is you know, she's been able to fight off any competition.
Quote unquote, fight off, guys.
Are you afraid of retribution?
Are you afraid of retribution?
No, I'm not afraid of retribution. My point is very simple, and that is, as we move forward to the 2018 elections, we want to regain the majority, especially in light of the Trump presidency, and our best shot at that is to win swing districts. And you know, I just think that at the end of the day, Leader Pelosi just doesn't help our candidates in those swing districts with independent voters and Republican voters, whom I think, given the Trump policies, we'll be able to swing our way.
Politically savvy. Their own political maneuvering is what leads to her downfall. There's a lot of revolt, though.
I respect any opinion that members have, but my decision about how long I stay is not up to them.
Oh! I've been very clear that we need leadership change. There's no question about it.
The Democratic Party has a toxic brand, one that is worse than Donald Trump's. And
every poll that we see, every stat that we see shows that Leader Pelosi just doesn't help our candidates.
The reality is that, you know, the fact that we have to go into 2018 with a leader who has been damaged.
Ossoff race better be a wake-up call. For Democrats, business as usual isn't working.
Our leadership needs to explain what happened, needs to explain why these resources essentially have gone to waste.
The rationale for getting new leadership is we are losing.
The Democratic brand is pretty bad.
And we have been losing since 2010.
Is it inevitable that we're going to keep the current leadership, or is there another road that people want to go down?
If elected, I will not vote for Nancy Pelosi for Speaker. Time to move forward and win again.
If we are going to win, if we're going to regain the majority in 2018, we have to have new leadership.
Nancy Pelosi doing an effective job as leader?
And I'd put Nancy Pelosi's record up against Donald Trump's record any day.
So you support her remaining as leader?
I think she's done a great job.
So she should stay as leader then, Congressman?
Well, I'm chair of the Congressional Black Caucus.
It's clear that I think across the board in the Democratic Party, we need new leadership.
Do you want to go into the midterm elections with Speaker Leader Pelosi as our leader?
They had their time with it.
Oh, Nancy. Hashtag oh, Nancy. All right, so that's enough of oh, Nancy, but there are, let's see, I played you 5 clips, and there's 19 clips total in the overtime folder for just oh, Nancy alone. You know how I say we have enough content for a couple of episodes a week? Look at this. I'll just look at this. Just right here, I'll show it to you. These top 5 clips are the ones I'm playing, and then the rest are all the stuff we don't have time to get to today. We could definitely do 2 episodes a week. Patreon.com/Unfilter. Although I don't think I'd actually do Oh Nancy twice a week. I'm just gonna save that up. But you get my drift. It's like that in every single category. Now, one of the things that came up during some of the recent Russia investigations was that Comey felt pretty uncomfortable with Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General at the time, forcing him, essentially, to use the same language as the Clinton campaign, and caused him to take certain actions that would otherwise seem unorthodox. And it seems like there could be some fallout from that.
President Obama's Justice Department eyeing former Attorney General Loretta Lynch for potential obstruction of justice in her handling of the Clinton email investigation.
So here to weigh in, New York Post columnist and author of Infiltration is Paul Sperry. Paul, nice to see you and welcome back to the show.
Good morning.
All right, so walk us through this. You believe that this is about to heat up, and we should be paying more attention to this than the Russia probe. Why do you think this is about to get a whole lot hotter?
Yeah, so these are some major developments, and they do not bode well for Democrats. Not only is the Senate now investigating officially the Obama administration for obstruction of justice, but they're also investigating the origins of this discredited dossier that Democrats used to launch their witch hunt against Trump on Russia. and that witch hunt could backfire on them now if this really heats up, like you say, with subpoenas, hearings, and also possibly a criminal investigation down the road.
Why don't you think we've had more coverage in the mainstream media? You would think that they would be at least covering this a little bit. I mean, you look at mainstream media, we've covered the stats over the past 2 days. There's been basically zero coverage of this. I mean, you helped break this story. You're saying it's a big deal. Why is the media not taking it as seriously?
Well, because they're part of the witch hunt, and you know, a lot of them are Democrat mouthpieces, so that's how it goes. But investigate.
Oh, you know what? I love it when Fox News talks about the media. Gosh, that's my favorite thing ever. I love that. Just it's like, oh, the media. It's, yeah. Let's go into speaking of the media. Let's go into one of the press conferences.
Named sources, use stories without sources. Have you know? You mentioned the Scaramucci story.
This is Sanders. Sarah. Sorry, not. It's Sarah Huckabee Sanders, which boy, if that's not hard to remember just because of all the different political there's so much baggage on Sanders and Huckabee, and then so you have a person here who has the name of Huckabee Sanders. Like, wow. Anyway, so this is Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and she's filling in for Spicy Sean. And it gets a little heated here.
Mentioned the Scaramucci story where they had to have reporters resign.
Come on, you're inflaming everybody right here and right now with those words. This administration has done that as well. Why in the name of heavens? Any one of us, right, are replaceable. And
she's almost smiling for a second there. You see that? Like, look at her. I mean, it's a frown, but it's like a frown smile. Do you see that? You'd have to be watching the video version, but I swear that looks like Glee with a frown.
Why in the name of heavens? Any one of us, right, are replaceable, and any one of us, if we don't get it right, the audience has the opportunity to turn the channel or not read us.
She laughs at that. She laughs at that because she knows it's bullshit. She knows you can sit there and pump out fake crap constantly, and people eat it up. The more salacious it is, the more they'll watch.
You have been elected to serve for 4 years at least. There's no option other than that. We're here to ask you questions. Right. We're here to provide the answers, and what you just did.
Here's what gets me about this. It's sort of like when you get in a conversation with somebody and it turns into an argument, then all of a sudden one of them blows up and accuses you of being the monster, but that they're one yelling. He's yelling at her, and he is using the phrase you. He's saying you constantly, which is aggressive. That is considered aggressive, and he's pointing at her and saying, you are doing this. You are doing. Obviously, as an individual person, she is not doing this.
We're here to ask you questions. Right. We're here to provide the answers. And what you just did is inflammatory to people all over the country who look at it and say, see, once again, the president is right and everybody else out here is fake media. And everybody in this room is only trying to do their job.
Well,
he knows it's televised, too.
I disagree completely. First of all, I think if anything has been inflamed, it's the dishonesty that often takes place by the news media. Oh. And I think it is outrageous for you to accuse me of inflaming a story when I was simply trying to respond to his question. Kevin.
Thank you, Sarah.
Damn! If Spicy's out, I want her to stick around. That was ninja. He sat there and ripped her up on live television in front of everybody. She smiled in her own weird, awkward way and then shut him down. I actually thought that was pretty good. If I could give her a clip of the day, that would be it. But we must move on. Now here's Rick Perry. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. I like Texas. It was fun. But here's Rick Perry, and he has his own way of handling a oddball, off-the-wall question.
Taking that snapshot and saying, okay, this is, a static picture, may be a little bit unfair.
Then following up quickly, if I can, since you get behind the scenes in ways that we don't. During the campaign, you famously said of candidate Trump,
I remind you that Rick Perry is the United States Secretary of Energy. That was not an episode of The Simpsons that you saw. That's really what's happening here. So he's here giving a press conference as the United States Secretary of Energy, and he calls on, I can't remember, off the top of my head which network that guy works for. I think it's NBC, but I feel like that I might be fuzzy on that.
Scenes in ways that we don't. During the campaign, you famously said of candidate Trump that his candidacy was a cancer on conservatism.
That has nothing to do with energy today.
but he's been here for 6 months. So what do you make of it? So Secretary, what do you make of it? You get to see him. You get to see him in person. What do you make of it?
I like that he's still shouting in the background.
What do you make of his conservatism? It's a simple question.
It's a simple question.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I thought you were talking to Tom.
Oh, I was. I was just saying hi to Tom. Just a great American.
Maybe.
There you go. So that's how Rick Perry handles the situation. It's kind of fun watching it without the commentary from any of the news networks and just watching the feed. And, you know, there's been a lot of, well, to borrow a phrase from Coda Radio, a lot of hoopla. And it's around this whole press conference with the one we just saw with Sarah Huckabee Sanders. This whole thing it's this whole turning off the camera thing, whatever you want to call it. It's still really grinding the gears of the reporters. Sometimes they allow the cameras on, sometimes they don't, and they're just not having it.
Before the president took his first trip abroad, that now we see you on camera about once a week. Is that a new normal that we would expect?
We'll see. We'll continue to mix things up.
Why are the cameras off, Sean?
Try.
Why did you turn them off?
That's CNN's Jim Acosta.
Can you just give us an answer to that? Can you tell us why you turned the cameras off? Why are they off, Sean?
It's a legitimate question.
It's a legitimate question. You are a taxpayer-funded spokesman for the United States government. Can you at least give us an explanation as to why the cameras are off?
The New York Times and the Washington Post are like, guys, we have been covering the presidency since you were just like dreams in your mommy and daddy's sperm without cameras.
Can we get this out of the way? Can we address the cameras issue? Do you think this?
Yeah, some days we'll have them, some days we won't. The president's going to speak today in the Rose Garden. I want the president's voice to carry the day.
That's your answer right there. The days when they don't want to override what Trump's message of the day is, they're not going to have cameras. And the days when there's nothing else going on, that's when you're going to get your cameras. That's the answer. That's the answer. The answer is you sons of bitches have been taking everything from these hearings, or I guess they're not hearings, whatever they feel like hearings, everything from these press conferences, and airing them and making just tons and tons of salacious claims based on clips from these press conferences. You play them on TV. They're on YouTube, constantly live streaming, hours before Sean comes out on the little podium there. They're up on YouTube streaming them. It's a huge ratings draw, and everything that's discussed in here becomes the conversation of the day and not whatever the White House wants the conversation to be. Maybe it's some jobs thing, or it's whatever. It's whatever they want it to be. That's how it works. And so their whole idea here is, well, if we shut down the camera feeds, they won't have any good content to work with.
Some days we won't. The president's going to speak today in the Rose Garden. I want the president's voice to carry the day. And I think, so look, this is nothing inconsistent with what we've said since day one.
Can I ask you about health care?
Yes.
So there you go. I don't know if I agree with it. I would like to always just have cameras. I think the camera should always just be going. Just have C-SPAN, always have them streaming in that room 24/7. Why not? It's not like they're having secret national security meetings in the press room. Just, I don't know. Just seems like it should always be going. But CNN though, when they're not getting great clips from press conferences, they gotta fill airtime with something. So let's go after Jill Stein and claim she's a Putin stooge.
There's been a whole lot of commentary recently as to the influence that 2016 Green Party candidate Jill Stein had on our election. Just take a look at all those headlines, as a matter of fact. I'm curious as to what she has to say about this and other current events, and I'm thrilled that joining me now is Dr. Jill Stein. Dr. Stein, this Washington Post story today, this blockbuster that points a finger directly at Vladimir Putin for having directed the meddling in our election, I find to be pretty compelling of his involvement. Does it make you reconsider the dinner invitation that you received in 2015 and whether him giving you that platform was itself a form of meddling?
So let's be clear, and I have not yet seen that article from the Washington Post, but there's been quite a lot of evidence pointing to the hacking into our election systems, especially voter registration, but also local election officials. There are grave concerns about the vulnerability of our election system, and that is not new. In fact, that's why I called for actually a recount so that we could examine, in fact, the voting machines and the software to know, in fact, because right now it's acknowledged that we got a real problem here. And whether it's the Russians, whether it is other hostile nations, whether it is criminal networks, we know that our voting system is wide open and vulnerable to all of it. So we need to get to the bottom of it, and above all, we need to start protecting our voting system right now. That means paper ballots, because you cannot corrupt them. It's an enduring record. It means auditing the optical scanners so that we know we have an accurate count, and we can go back and recount it if there's a question about it. And we need cybersecurity best practices at all levels of our voting. People can go listen to the testimony before Congress just last week by Alex Halderman, one of the foremost cybersecurity experts. It's not rocket science how to fix this, and we need to make our system protected not just against Russian interference or Chinese or mafia, but also against private corporations, for example, who control our voting software and who have a stake in the outcome of the election. This system needs to be protected so that Americans can have faith and confidence in it.
Okay, I'm for all of that. But now take me inside the dinner you had with Vladimir Putin in 2015 and the prominence that it afforded you. My question is, was that in and of itself a form of meddling along the lines of, let me give some attention to Green Party candidate Jill Stein on the theory that any vote, you know the theory, any vote for Stein is a vote that otherwise would have gone to Hillary. What was that dinner all about? Tell me about it.
Here it is again.
So let's be clear. That was a conference. And that picture actually didn't really begin to circulate until long after the election. So it's not like it was a public relations bump. It essentially wasn't covered here in the U.S. There was media at that conference, and it was a day-long conference where my message was very clear. It was the message of my campaign, which was that we need a peace offensive in the Middle East. Now, this was not a message that was particularly friendly to the Russians. It was saying to them that we need to stop the bombing. They had just begun bombing in Syria. And
so they don't really have anything on her, but you can see how they keep pushing. In fact, the interview goes on for like another 3 minutes. Oh, man. I tell you what, anything they can do to reach. Okay, so I mentioned this earlier in the show. There was a interview that Tucker Carlson did that I thought was really good. And I would have included it earlier in the show. It didn't flow, it didn't fit. And it talks about the trade of power in D.C. and why the media is kind of as awful as it is. It's not out of necessarily even malice. It's what I've talked about before, and it's why we're a Patreon model. It's because it's all about access and information.
Change. How did it happen? Cheryl Atkinson hosts Full Measure with Cheryl Atkinson and is the author of a very fitting and really interesting new book called The Smear. It comes out tomorrow, and she joins us tonight. Cheryl, CNN, I think, was liberal, for a long time, but this is different from what we've seen before, and it's not just CNN, it's other news organizations. What changed?
Well, I worked there a long time ago from, I think it was 1990 to 1993. But I think a lot of news organizations in the past 3 to 4 years have undergone a huge sea change, but especially in the past 18 months to 2 years of campaign 2016. And I talk about in the book, I think this is a confluence of factors, including we have now invited pundits and political operatives into our newsroom, not just as commentators and pundits, but also as reporters, anchors, and editorial positions. So sometimes there's a little meaningful difference now, I think, between the people who are reporting the news and the political operatives who want to advance news narratives. That's a problem. I also think that the establishment, I'm talking Democrats, Republicans, and the media establishment, have exempted themselves from the normal journalism rules and rules of political behavior because they see Donald Trump as such a big threat. They would say a Hitler-esque threat that means they don't have to follow the normal rules of journalism in this case. I think it's more of a threat to the system of favors, money, and access that has been developed through what we've known as the political establishment.
So it's not just a conventional left-right thing where they're liberal, Trump is conservative, they hate him. There's something different going on. Is it the populism of Trump that scares them?
I think it's the fact that Washington survives, as well as I do.
keep Nancy Pelosi in mind as she's about to describe this. And, of course, you could trade Nancy Pelosi, I think, for Lindsey Graham or obviously John McCain. So you could interchange whichever party you want to demonize, but you pick. And then use this model that she's talking about here, and you can understand why they remain in power for so long.
On a system that's gone on for decades of access and money, where people have spent decades paying into certain politicians, Democrats and Republicans alike, to make sure certain political hearings don't happen.
As a rich person or as a corporation, you buy your politician, you know, and they become your brand. You got McCain. McCain's your guy. And that's really good if you work at GMC or Boeing, if you're Raytheon, that's really good. That's a good thing. If you're Silicon Valley, you're Google, and you want access to the roads to test your self-driving cars, you're willing to pay Nancy Pelosi a lot of money when she calls you up and says, I need to send $32 million to Georgia. Well, you know what? You want Nancy Pelosi's help to let your self-driving cars on the road. It's simple exchange. It's business. It's just business, guys.
Into certain politicians, Democrats and Republicans alike, to make sure certain political hearings don't happen, to make sure certain laws have provisions written in. All of a sudden, overnight, all of that access they've bought, all the hard work they've done as lobbyists and so on, is almost worthless if Trump's reality of Washington comes into play, and nobody seems to like that.
This is why the political body seems to reject him from the right, from the left, from the deep state. This is why.
So he's a threat to them personally, to their jobs, to their way of doing things. So I wonder what's the long-term cost? I mean, if you act like Trump is, a despot, and you continue doing that, and he turns out not to be a despot, flawed in some ways, but he's not Mussolini, like, what happens to your credibility after a while?
Talking about the news media? Or
the news media.
The news media, I think, is suffering a credibility gap in general because it has decided to blur together, like I've never seen before, opinion and advocacy journalism with what I think people would like to think is more straight news journalism, reporting of just the facts. And I think that harm is going to take a long time to dial back, if they even want to dial it back, and I'm not sure we do.
What happens when there's a crisis, and there will be one, if there's a war or something awful happens and the whole country turns on its TV sets to find out just the facts of it, and we begin to realize that nobody believes the news anymore? What happens then?
I kind of liken it in the extreme to, the situation as it must be in North Korea. If you have a TV and can watch the news, and it's going to be a version that's approved and put out by the state, I think in some respects we are getting an artificial reality created by people who are putting out narratives, whether Democrats, Republicans, or corporate interests, and people sense, at least some people, that they're not getting an accurate picture. And I think if you're like me, there's very little that I see reported on the news that I instantly believe without doing my own checking, because
I got to tell you, just really a quick story happened to me last night. What an experience I had. I was sitting at a little brewery way down Highway 20 towards the mountains. There's no cell signal. It is a hick town. It was literally a wood hut. I kid you not. The brewery is a wood hut, and I was sitting in there eating a turkey sandwich, and that they had made on a hot plate that they have there, and then a little mini fridge, because it's a brewery, and I think there's some weird law where they have to serve food too. And they have a flat screen television on the wall, and the locals are there, some of them wearing shorts with no shoes, kids running around in the yard. It's a real small town. It was an area that I had been camping in for a week, and last night was our last night in the area, and so we wanted to go have a really super local experience. Now, to make a long story short, they had TV up on the screen, and it's the news, and the news comes on, and it's a story about how bad homemade sunscreen is. Homemade sunscreen, and it has this whole piece about how homemade sunscreen is like totally awful, and it gives you all these examples of how people have these burns. And this interesting thing happened because everybody was local and friendly. They're all just talking. They're all just sitting table to table, shouting to each other, back and forth. Man, you hearing this? Yep. Another story where they want you to go buy something with chemicals in it. Of course they don't want you to make it yourself. Yeah, we make it ourselves. We don't have any problems. Yeah. Oh, I just don't even wear the damn stuff. And this is going back and forth. Nobody in the restaurant, well, it's not a restaurant, it's a brewery, but there's a dozen people in here. Nobody's buying any of the stories on the TV. The next story comes up about ransomware. Nobody's buying the narrative. They're all sitting there talking about different stuff. And in the corner, I hear people talking about Bitcoin and Litecoin, Ethereum. It was amazing. As somebody who has followed this industry for this long, it's amazing to see how little the public trusts what the media is telling them on the television and about how they just simply don't buy it. I couldn't, there wasn't a moment, nobody in there was standing up and going, well, actually, I actually made it and it was horrible and my kids got really burned and I'll never do it. Everybody's like, yeah, they're just trying to scare you. And I'm not saying that they were right or wrong. It's just immediately nobody buys it. Nobody buys it anymore because they don't know. I guess they either trust their own opinion or what they Google or what they see on Twitter or Facebook. I don't know what it is people buy anymore and believe, but it's definitely not what the media is telling them. And I tell you what, sitting there in this brewery in Podunk, Kicktown, Washington, it really opened up my eyes. It's not just in the little tech bubble that I live in, but it was just an average Americans sitting around watching a television talking to each other. They were all just openly skeptical about everything coming through.
Very little that I see reported on the news that I instantly believe without doing my own checking, because so many formerly reputable news organizations have been proven to be 180 degrees wrong, not just a little bit wrong, but like in the case where so many insisted President Trump was under investigation when he wasn't, so many that insisted it couldn't be true that Comey had told him 3 times he wasn't under investigation when that was the case. These sorts of things with very little repercussions when the reporting turns out to be wrong based on, I think, highly inadequate standards, reporters doing things that wouldn't be allowed in journalism school, but doing them now with impunity.
And you could go even farther back. Trump's going to lose their weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. I mean, time again, no one is ever held to account for lying, in effect.
Or getting something woefully wrong because they aren't doing due diligence.
Exactly. Cheryl Atkinson, the book is great.
Well, they are, to a degree. It seems to be, in the court of public opinion, they are being held accountable. And this is my point. So she was under attack by CBS for a bit, too, and so I think this is where this book comes from. I want to back up on something they said there. They really lost credibility with this election. They blew it. They were also convinced Hillary was going to win. They were also convinced of their power structure of trading information and access and coverage. They were just convinced Hillary was going to win. And they were completely disconnected from the populist opinion. They didn't understand Bernie, and they didn't understand Donald. And they still don't. They still don't. I think one of the biggest things for me during the election was listening to NPR struggle with covering Trump, because I had enjoyed NPR as sort of a low-key, easy way to consume news. And I like their mobile app, to be honest, and it integrates in with my Echo. So to me, it's just a great way to get good-sounding news on the go. But to listen to them totally struggle to understand Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, it revealed to me that it didn't feel intentional on their part. It simply was a cultural, institutional bias that prevented them from fully understanding what was going on. It's a great interview, and I thought I wanted to play the whole thing because it really got me thinking. Anyways, Leon Panetta. I don't know how much he speaks for the CIA. Of course, the old saying goes, once a company man, always a company man. But Leon Panetta, the old CIA boss, is out saying that Donald Trump doesn't have credibility.
Earlier tonight, I spoke with Leon Panetta, longtime member of Congress, the Democratic Party in California, former White House Chief of Staff to Bill Clinton, former Secretary of Defense, and former Director of the CIA. I started by asking him about something President Trump wrote on Twitter, quote, "The reason that President Obama did nothing about Russia after being notified by the CIA of meddling is that he expected Clinton would win. He didn't choke, he colluded or obstructed." Here is Leon Panetta's response.
Well, I think the president will use any kind of diversion he can to try to take attention away from him and his responsibility.
So it seems to me, based on his initial responses so far, first of all, they couldn't have found literally a more biased person to ask except for maybe President Obama or Hillary Clinton. But that aside, I think he's going off old talking points here. The diversion talking point's not what we go with anymore. That's old stuff now. We need to. You gotta get on the phone, Panetta, before you get him come into these interviews. You gotta get the new talking points.
To take attention away from him and his responsibility as president to deal with what the Russians not only did during the election, but the threat that they represent in the future. I don't see a lot of credibility by someone who has called the Russian interference a hoax, a witch hunt.
A service member, director. I mean, aren't they the military? Maybe not. Maybe they're not. I just can't believe former high-level government officials coming on national television and saying the current president of the United States doesn't have credibility. Despite their actual feelings. It's just a different era we live in. This kind of political commentary I don't feel existed in the past.
Russians not only did during the election, but the threat that they represent in the future. I don't see a lot of credibility by someone who has called the Russian interference a hoax.
Of course, former director of the Spooks, tons of credibility. Tons of credibility. This one sort of piqued my interest a little bit.
Over to Germany now, where the parliament has approved a law allowing the country's secret services to monitor messaging platforms like WhatsApp. Now, critics say that this plan infringes civil liberties. RT's Peter Oliver has more.
The German parliament has adopted this law that would allow WhatsApp messages or any other messaging service that use encryption to be, well, those messages that are sent to be read by the authorities.
How can he be blowing this that bad? WhatsApp messages? WhatsApp messages? And he's, fumbling the entire, thing.
What they do is they intercept it before it's sent from one device to another where the encryption takes place. Now, this is a move that's been referred to by the Interior Minister here in Germany, Thomas de Maizière, as essential when it comes to the fight against terror. We've also heard similar things coming from the European Union summit that's ongoing in Brussels at the moment from the EU Council President Donald Tusk. He said that authorities need access to this type of information if they're to try and stop future terrorist attacks.
Now, mind you, that all of the terrorist attacks that have been happening recently, all of them, since this show started, have happened during massive domestic spying. Especially in France, where they are still in a state of emergency as far as I'm aware. And so here in the States as well. Massive domestic spying at unprecedented levels, and all of these attacks have still happened.
The European Council have also agreed on the need to cooperate closely with the online industry. We are calling on social media companies to do whatever is necessary to prevent the spread of terrorist material on the internet.
So this raises the obvious question in our chat room. Are they going to ban open source software? What are they going to do there? But obviously they're not. Obviously they can't. They can't go back either and retroactively change SSL and get access to everyone's SSL sessions, because there's no way they could get every server system in the world updated to comply. It just wouldn't happen. Not only do they not have the authority, but nobody updates their systems. So the only success I can imagine this having would be new communications networks that are created in the jurisdictions where these laws are passed, have backdoors. So anything new. And anything large enough that if they want to participate in that economy, they're going to have to talk to the government and implement their wishes. So your large commercial applications like your WhatsApp, your Skypes, they'll have to make changes. But your open source messengers like Signal and Wire, Telegram perhaps even, they're not going to change a damn thing. Not only do they not have the jurisdiction to make them, but it's just simply incompatible with distribution in the other places around the world. So they're not going to change anything. They can't. So what are the terrorists going to do? They're just going to use those applications. So then the effective result will be monitoring of average civilians using the generally commercially available software that already has agreements in place with the government to provide the access they want. So the only thing this accomplishes is domestic surveillance. It doesn't accomplish surveillance of terrorists because apparently they all get some sort of email from a walkie from the grave telling them how to encrypt their stuff. And so they jump around to the most popular encryption, or we've also heard they just encrypt their own stuff. That'll be the next story. Well, now ISIS has rolled their own encryption because of these changes. And of course, they're not giving us a backdoor, which would also be bullshit. If they rolled their own encryption, it would be the worst thing ever. It'd be a gift to law enforcement. So the only thing I can see this accomplishing is monitoring of your everyday citizens. Doesn't seem like it's going to get access to any terrorist communications because they'll just jump to anything. I mean, at the end of the day, they could just use WhatsApp and just use GPG to encrypt the information before they paste it into the application. They could do that over an SMS text message, too. You think you're going to get GPG to build in a backdoor? I don't think so. What if they start using OpenSSH? And they just log into a system? What are you gonna? And they just change the message of the day, and then they log out. You can get a backdoor to that. What are you gonna do? There's no way around this problem. There's no way to break math. That's the thing about encryption. It's math. And anything that does get compromised will just get put on some sort of terrorist list of things not to use and get distributed around these ISIS forums that nobody can ever find. Seems like a loser to me. Maybe I've got it easy here in podcasting land. I mean, sure, we do these shows live, and I'd love to have you be here live. But, you know, at the end of the day, if something came up, we could hit stop, go take a leak, and come back. But in broadcast, things are really by the clock. In fact, I think some things must be automated. And the BBC had a bit of a breakdown recently. And this would have just pretty much gone unnoticed over here in the States, except for CBS had to go ahead and have a little fun.
That's what it was like. This is not fake video. Listen to this. The BBC had a dramatic and embarrassing technical glitch last night. There was a technical problem just a few seconds before the news at 10 went on the air. So the anchor, his name is Hugh Edwards, just sat there in silence while they fixed the problem. It took 4 very long minutes. Oh, no. One viewer tweeted that seeing Edwards sitting there looking worried at the top of the broadcast was, quote, how I imagined the world would end. So that thing kept playing, dun, 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 and he's just sort of sitting there.
Yeah, in our business, that's just painful to watch, yeah. Sorry to hear that happen.
People surround us in the control room want us to know it would never happen.
It would never happen here.
Knock on plexiglass.
Thank you, control room crew. Should we see a shot of the control room? Yeah, we should. Yeah. Let's see a shot of the control room. The people that would never let that happen. Yay, control room! Yay! Control room! Yes.
Never 4 minutes.
It's an awkward thing. Listen to what he says here. Listen, he says like Charlie doesn't want to give him too much credit. He's like, yeah, but not for 4 minutes. Like it could still happen though.
Yes.
Never 4 minutes in silence.
Never 4 minutes, but it could happen. I don't know what that was about. All right, and then my last clip of the day. This is a moment in broadcast television that's classic. CNN's had a bad week, guys. Real bad week. And I don't know if they tell their... I think they tell their guests to be combative. I think they say, fight back, push back, push back. I bet you that's what they say, because that's Wolf's. I'm going to push back on that. That's what Wolf always says. I bet they say push back. Push back. We want tension. That's got to be how this happened, because I'm watching this clip here, and these are professional broadcasters, and it seems really odd that this would happen unless there was, before they even went on the air, there was a conversation to say, all right, we want this to be edgy, we want this to really grab people's attention, so let's create some tension. Feel free to just push back. You know, really, if I say something, I really want you to push back on it, because we're just going to put all this out there. That's my generous version of how this clip comes to an existence. I think this is producer Matt's favorite clip of the week. Out of all of them that we have in the supporters sync and the ones we've played in the show, I think this is it right here. This is Don Lemon having a moment.
First of all, the judge, and I was there at the trial, indicated to the jurors in that first criminal trial that they were not to discuss deliberations or how others voted after they were released from their jury service.
Let me put it, because
now,
there's a juror.
wait a second.
No, I'm going to play the juror soundbite for you, and I'm going to let you respond.
Finish.
This is Don.
Wait, let me finish.
Gloria, I want you to finish. I just want to play the juror.
Don't talk over me. I want to address
Okay, can we play the soundbite, please?
And here's your point.
Gloria, I'm playing the soundbite so that I can help you make your point.
Oh,
so
okay.
Good. Here's a juror.
Oh, is that what we're doing?
Let me finish. This is Don.
Wait, let me finish.
Gloria, I want you to finish. I just want to play the juror.
Don't talk over me. I want to address
Okay, can we play the soundbite, please?
And here's your point.
Gloria, I'm playing the soundbite so that I can help you make your point.
Oh,
so
okay.
Good. Here's a juror.
I love it. All right, thanks for tuning into the show. That's it for episode 242. I love your faces. Thank you for supporting us at patreon.com/unfilter. If you've got the supporter sync, check out the extra clips we couldn't get to. If you don't have the sync yet, go back in the back catalog, get the BitTorrent sync, help me back it all up, because we're going to move to something new eventually, and you'll be my backup in case that goes horribly wrong. All right, thank you very much for being here. And if you, you know what, one more thing. If you're not a patron, you can still support us. Spread the word about the show. Spread the word about the show. Spread the word about the show.
Gloria, I'm playing the soundbite so that I can help you make your point. Gloria, I'm playing the soundbite so that I can help you make your point. Gloria, I'm playing the soundbite so that I can help you make your point.
Oh,
so
okay.
Good. So that I can help you make your point.
Oh,
so
okay.
Good. Gloria, I'm playing the soundbite so that I can help you make your point. Playing the soundbite so that I can help you make your point. Playing the soundbite so that I can help you make your point.
Oh,
so
okay.
Good. Here's a juror.
I think that we should all make those businesses fair.
Everybody was down in Arizona trying to figure out who the leader of the Democratic Party would be moving forward. And that leader was actually in Michigan giving a speech, and his name is Bernie Sanders.
The Democratic Party is failing. I think it is time for the Democratic Party to reassess what it stands for and where it wants to go.
The soul of the Democratic Party was lost.
That Trump
I
didn't.
don't know why I like that. I just like that. You know, sometimes I like a little Bernie Sanders digging in there. Sometimes it feels good. Feels good. I thought this was a good one, too. This is pretty good.
The same. Be careful what you wish for, because you might get it. Senator Al Franken has me wondering about my wish that Trump gets impeached. And I don't want him to get impeached until after my book comes out.
And that's October, right?
October.
He might get himself impeached on spite, just to spite you before that book
Oh, my
comes.
God. That's such good political commentary that I would tune in every single fucking... Oh! Makes me want to puke.
Thank you, ma'am. 3 weeks ago, you said that we need to be responsible stewards of God's creation.
Yes.
And that it dishonors God to pull out of the Paris Accord.
Yes.
The Heartbeat Protection Act would prohibit aborting a baby with a heartbeat. Does it dishonor God to abort a baby with a beating heart?
I don't, obviously you want to get into that discussion. What I say is I completely respect a woman's right to choose. I'm a mother of 5 children, 9 grandchildren, but my 5 children were born within exactly 6 years of each other. When my baby came home from the hospital, when we brought her home, our oldest child was turning 6. I thought she might be here. She's not allowed in the room, I guess. Turning 6 that week. I come from a very strong Italian Catholic family. Many of my family members do not share my view. But it is my view that it is up to a woman to have her own right to choose the size and timing of her family. God gives us a free will and holds us responsible and accountable for our actions.
There you go. I think she's got the God angle worked on that one. She's worked it. You know how she loves to do that. She loves to do that.
Embattled, longtime House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi defiant amid mounting calls for her to go.
I feel very confident in the support that I have in my caucus.
An increasing number of her fellow Democrats blame her after losing 4 out of 4 special elections, including Georgia's hotly contested House race.
Democrats have lost 60 seats over the past 6 years, so why should you keep your job?
So you want me to sing my praises? Is that what you're saying? Why should I? Well, I'm a master legislator. I am a strategic, politically astute leader. I am my leadership is recognized by many around the country.
President Trump fanning the flames, tweeting, "I certainly hope the Democrats do not force Nancy P. out. That would be very bad for the Republican Party." Late this afternoon, a dozen House Democrats huddled to discuss the way forward without Pelosi.
I'm done. We need to move forward, and we need to get a new leadership team in place.
Ohio Congressman Tim Ryan tried but failed to unseat Pelosi last year, now arguing she's more toxic than President Trump.
You have said that Leader Pelosi is more toxic than President Trump. Do you stand by that statement?
I think in some areas of the country that's true. I think maybe on the whole, not so. But the Democratic brand is toxic in much of the country, which is why we're not in the majority here in Washington or in many other places around the country. And
Pelosi is no stranger to a tough fight, having led Democrats for more than a decade. She helped get Obamacare passed and is a prolific fundraiser. Her argument today, experience is critical to winning in the Trump era.
I think I'm worth the trouble, quite frankly. I love the fray.
Kristen Welker, NBC News, the Capitol.
There you go. There you go. And even NBC is reporting on it. Even NBC. More toxic than Trump. Damn.
Are you talking?
Get your mic. Get your mic. Get your mic.
It's there.
Get it together over
It's
there.
there. I'm a professional.
Take your shit. Get it all together and take it to the shit store.
Is this on? Is this on? Hello.
That damn ice
Hello?
cream. That damn ice cream truck was going for the last 5 minutes of overtime, dude.
Are you trying to say that you really want some ice cream?
Have you seen my overtime intro?
No.
You want to see it?
I think I saw it once, but I'll see it again.
Warning. Life support failure on all decks. Abandoned ship. Level 9 authorization required.
But you got to think, though, when I see the font, when I see this, I'm not expecting Unfilter overtime. I'm expecting something else entirely.
I'm going to change it up about once a month.
All right.
So I'm going to have different themes for each one.
Is that a repetitive stress injury you got there?
Is this going to distract you? Is this going to be a problem?
It's very distracting.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm open. Like I think I'm also gonna do like a Trump themed one, but I feel like that's gonna trigger people.
Oh.
You know, but I'm gonna do it anyways. I'm just gonna go for it.
Well, if the show's still going, you should do it for every presidency. You know, you have a Trump one, and then you have the Trump second one.
And then
you have the Trump third one because he'll suspend the rules and become president forever.
So for like, I want to do like a Trump one, and then like I wouldn't mind doing like a Charlie Rose one. Like I was thinking like doing themed, like you getting quotes, and then like having because the way it goes is people. So right now Maxine Waters is in that one.
Right. Yes.
So I want to put different, like, you know, like Nancy Pelosi's, like I want to put different like quotes in there and stuff, have different themes. Yeah. I had one to do, but I can't find it. So that's the story of my life.
Why don't you just tell Alexa to do everything?
Hey, watch out.
Is she triggered? Is she triggered?
Watch out.
Don't worry, I won't say anything like that will mess things up. Hey, did you notice that they have a new feature that you can use them as intercoms and things like that?
Yeah, I did notice that.
Yeah, you can talk to me now, and I can talk to you.
Yeah, did you see on the show they have the pop in?
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, pop in, pop out.
Yeah, but no, on the show you can pop in.
What do you mean pop in on the show?
Like you can do a video pop in. And
on the Amazon show. I'm sorry, I thought you meant show as in
the
show.
Like on the Amazon show, it does like a pop in, and it starts with the video sort of like blurred for like 10 seconds,
so
and
you
then
can put on your shirt.
And then if you don't say stop, the video unblurs, and you're connected.
Wow.
Now I think you can only turn on certain people, but anyways.
Remember like 15, 20 years ago when AT&T tried to do video calling and it was just awful and it was over the phone line.
Okay, what was their it wasn't remember when. It was what was their slogan?
Someday you will.
Is that what you will?
Like, you will.
You will.
You will.
Yeah.
AT&T.
Is that what it was? AT&T in the future.
It was AT&T in the future. It was like a really futuristic looking commercial, I think.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. That they were actually kind of in a like. So here it is. This must be it. This is it in 1993. This must be it. What is that?
That's not the commercial. No.
This is interesting. This is like some some produced piece. Look at this.
And I really think we're going to have to make some changes in the prosthesis itself.
Oh, God,
it's not allowed.
That's like a hangout, though, dude. In a way, they're right, dude.
Yeah.
In a way, they're right. That's fascinating. So I'm going to search AT&T You Will.
I would say AT&T
You
future.
Will. No, You Will
commercial.
No, I'm going to search for You Will because I think that is what it was. Yeah, here we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever renewed your driver's license? At a cash machine?
Pause it for a minute.
Nice picture.
Bonus points if you can recognize the voice.
Is it Jeff Goldblum?
No.
No, who is it?
You will. And
You Will. That's the giveaway, but I can't.
Yeah, well, I'll give you a clue. Mustache.
the company that'll
Selleck?
Yes, nice
bring it to you, AT&T.
Your true voice.
Oh God, that's bad, man. That was bad. Yeesh.
That's negative in the freedom dimension.
Oh man, you know what we need is like a.
Yeah. Rinse your mouth out.
Yeah, really. Oof. Oof.
You ever wanted to take a fax at the beach?
Yeah, right.
You will.
All right, I'm gonna go. Let's see here. Let's see. What should we play? To avoid Coop. No, let's see. Lemon. No, let's not do lemon. Something from England. Let's take a look here. Something about Theresa May. Theresa May. All right, I'm going to go potty.
Theresa May.
There seems to be very little applause for the British Prime Minister's solution to propping up her weak government. Theresa May is spending an extra £1 billion on Northern Ireland in order to get the province's Democratic Unionist Party to support her in Parliament. Anastasia Churkin reports on how it might not be the damage control Mrs May is hoping it'll be.
Are you resigning, Prime Minister? Are you stepping down, Mrs May? May must go! May must go! May must go!
Instead of stepping down, the British Prime Minister had a different plan. But it seemed like whichever way she turned, there was potential for trouble. The Tories have penned a deal with the Democratic Unionist Party of Northern Ireland, which is opposed to a hard Brexit, something May has accepted as a possibility. On top of that, the DUP have been criticised for their policies on same-sex marriage and abortion, as well as previous links with violent paramilitary groups in Northern Ireland. Not a perfect ally, but the 10 DUP MPs have been crucial for Theresa May. So much so, she was ready to pay. Their support came with a hefty price tag of £1 billion to be spent over the next 2 years. That's in addition to the previously announced $500 million in funds to Northern Ireland.
Oh.
And who is footing the bill, you may ask? As always, the taxpayer.
Pow, Chase, pow.
Well, it's good that the UK has a lot of money to spend.
Yeah, they have extra money.
Yeah,
so
yeah. I mean,
they don't need it.
That's what I do. I buy political parties.
Hey, Chase, do you think maybe the chat room would bang suggest us like a super good title?
You know, I think they will. You know, they are ready to step up to the occasion.
Oh God, I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, because if we don't get a good title, I'm just gonna fall apart.
Oh wow, look at it, 1990 Sprint commercial
Oh,
when it was
man.
U.S. Sprint.
Is that when? And it was voiced by Murphy. Was that when it was voiced by Murphy? I kind of want to see if it was.
Was it voiced by Murphy?
Remember? Do you remember Murphy? Do you remember?
Oh, Murphy, Alex Murphy. You mean RoboCop?
No, dude.
Oh, sorry. I got excited.
As far as we're concerned, AT&T's left a lot of people in the dark.
Yeah.
Well, let me shed some light on the subject. Sprint has real operators.
No.
Sprint has real operators. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not. That's not.
That's the
future.
future.
You don't remember that? You don't remember that sitcom Murphy with the blonde gal who?
Murphy Brown.
Murphy Brown. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
She worked for that news network, FYI.
Yeah, she did the voice for.
Oh, I guess we're ready to
Yeah,
start.
okay, here we go. It's Unfiltered here.
Yes, producer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
God, calm down.
Oh, chat room. Bang suggest, please. I like it when it comes from the title too. That's always or the intro. Here, 2 in a 1 3 2 title from the intro. There we go. Look, they found it. Okay, shit, dude.
All right,
shit.
yes,
All right,
gotta
fuck,
play it,
man.
yeah.
I mean,
come on, we're down this memory lane. Might as well finish it off.
This week, a case of global proportions. Meet Suparna Singh. Every weekend, her M.O. was the same. Her brother in Bombay, grandparents in Great Britain. She loved being in constant contact, except when she got her phone bill. Her crime? Not taking advantage of Sprint's new offer to split the cost of calls all weekend long. Don't let this happen to you. Call now before it's too late. An offer this good can't last forever.
it's like, what was her appeal, really? That she was kind of mannish?
She was professional. She was a strong woman.
Damn.
She had the broad shoulders with the pads.
Don't you think it's weird that my brain has memory for that? And of all the things, I couldn't even tell you what I did for breakfast, really, I don't think. I don't think I had breakfast, but you know what I mean? Like, it's weird that
I had a Soylent.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are you through the 2-week bowel issue, or are you?
I never had a bowel issue.
Oh, well, fuck you then. Let's not even. Jeez, for me, the first week was horrendous. Actually, the first 3 days.
The cacao Soylent is great for the morning.
God,
it is
great.
The
first 3 days was rough. All right, here we go. It is the Unfilter Show, episode 242, and it begins right now.
Is that a palindrome? 242.
In a two. Save it for the show. Fuck.
Fuck on the show? No.
OMG, OMG, OMG.
This is Unfilter, episode 242 for June 28th, 2017.
Hey, man. We met in Palm Springs a few years back.
Good to see you, man. You good?
Yeah. How you been? What are you doing? What do you think's going to happen this week? I mean, with the whole Russia thing.
The Russia thing is just a big nothing burger.
Really?
You know, I'm hungry for a whole lot of nothing burger with a large side of bias, and you know, I'll go with a diet Trump on this one. Yes.
Extra salt too, dude.
Extra salt, yes. Hey everybody, welcome to this edition of Unfiltered, Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly show about the news you shouldn't be watching. I'm Chase, running the board this week. Very new guy.
Happy to be here. Super excited.
Unfortunately, he has some sort of injury.
Yeah.
You can't see it on the audio.
No. Can't
but you
really.
have to trust me on this.
Yeah, some sort of brace.
But
I'm here.
What did
my
you
first
do?
time here.
What did you do? Yeah, first time here.
You know, actually,
Well, wait a
the
minute.
unfortunate kind of bummer truth is it's editing all the clips for this show.
Bullshit.
I'm not. I'm
Really?
100%. I'm 100% honest. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So it's just it catches up with me on Wednesdays. Wednesdays are bad, and so then I can't use my hand for 2 days. So I've just decided I'm going to wear a brace during Wednesdays.
Hey, Chris, you have two. Use the other one.
I did actually order a trackpad, which I will use left-handed when my right hand is is beginning to hurt. But yeah, I got the Microsoft ergonomic like vertical mouse, so that helps.
Well, you got. I don't know if you heard. Good news. Obamacare's not going away quite yet, so you can go get that taken care of real fast.
I feel like I just need a standing desk, really.
You're gonna no.
I mean, this right here is a standing desk. This is
yeah, that's true. What you need is a big ball to sit on.
The reason I say that is I think it's part posture. That's why I say that. Yeah, I need a big ball. So we have a lot to get into. Our cyber segment could have been the whole show this week.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
There is quite a bit also to get into in the whole Russia election collusion, he said, she said stuff. And then the overtime is huge this week, too. So
That's
lots.
What she said.
So let's do our cyber. Are you ready for this?
ASL.
This was the big story.
Slamming companies all over the world.
Tracy Carrasco here now with those details. Good morning, Tracy.
Good morning. Now, this ransomware wreaked havoc on big companies in Europe and North America, capitalizing on the same vulnerabilities that froze more than 300,000 computer systems around the world with the WannaCry cyber attack we saw in May.
Yeah, you heard that right. This is taking advantage of the same flaw that WannaCry took advantage. Yes, that same old flaw.
Wow.
Using that same NSA.
So, Chris, talk to me for a minute. You have experience in the private sector, okay? You did this intrusion detection stuff, and you were able to patch crap and make things good.
Patched my ass, dude.
So companies they got the warning shot across the bow, all right, about this before.
That's what really upsets me about this story.
What the hell?
That is exactly what upsets me about this, is the writing was on the wall when WannaCry took off.
Yes.
And if after WannaCry you have systems that have any connection or any management, even systems that monitor critical infrastructure, there is either A, no reason for them to still be unpatched, because even Microsoft released old patches for XP.
Yes, they did.
Or B, there is zero reason for them to be on any kind of network that is publicly routable.
Right.
I can't fathom of it.
Like
one of the stories is that Chernobyl, you know, the place that melted down. That place, the radiation monitoring of that place went offline because of this.
Holy crap!
Now, if that story is true, and I have it linked in the show notes, if that story is true, what the hell do the monitoring systems have any connection to any kind of public routable address space? What the hell's going on there?
It's because someone's lazy and they rather have it connected so they can monitor. I mean, like at work. We have some systems that are really old. We have some Windows 2000 systems. We actually have some XP systems that are sitting out there, but they are not connected to anything. They are isolated. They are for one-task situations only. It's a very safe situation. There's no excuse here, and these are companies either being lazy or cheap or both.
Especially after WannaCry. We had a conversation on the live stream about Germany essentially going to mandate backdoors into things like WhatsApp and whatnot. And you look at things like this with WannaCry and now Petya, where part of this is using NSA malware that was leaked via shadow brokers. Because the NSA cached zero-day vulnerabilities in Windows, they built up a cache of them. They held on to these zero-day vulnerabilities for their own exploits so they could have backdoor access, and they created malware to exploit that, and then they leaked it. It got leaked, and shadow brokers published it, and now that is being used by WannaCry and Petya to do this. And it is a case point and case closed example why government should not have backdoor access to applications like Telegram or SSL encryption or GPG encryption.
Chris, I just got a text message here from my good friend, Theresa May.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. How's she doing?
She's doing good. She says, this is exactly the reason why we need to have backdoor.
Oh, wait. But something about hashtag terrorism, right?
Yeah, something like kids.
We saw in May, this cyber attack called Petya appeared to target the Ukraine, where government officials and businesses reported interference to the power grid, government offices, banks, and stores. In particular, computers at the Chernobyl nuclear plant were affected, resulting in radiation levels having to be monitored manually.
What the hell?
Russia's top oil producer Rosneft said it was also hacked, as well as Danish shipping giant AP Moller-Maersk and Britain's WPP, the largest advertising company in the world. Pharmaceutical giant Merck became the first major U.S. company impacted by the ransomware.
This might as well be a shame list of people who aren't updating their systems.
And notice this is on Fox Business, because that tells me I need to get my investments out of these companies.
Yeah.
Computers would receive a message like this, then essentially all of its data was held hostage.
It's almost identical to the WannaCry message. It's just in a different UI.
It's nice of them, by the way, to put the Bitcoin out there address. So if you want to just go ahead and give money anyway, you can just do that.
So let's come back to that.
Scrambling it until a payment was made. In this case, $300 in the digital currency Bitcoin was demanded.
Why only $300?
Well, they had to pick an arbitrary amount, and they picked $300.
$300, and they're going after infrastructure, government. $300?
Because I guess their mode of thinking is a company would pay $300 to make it go away.
I guess if you have 20 systems infected.
Right. Let's say you're...
Because I think a company would pay $1,000 to make... See, that's what's... You're going after government and companies. You could charge $1 million.
Right. And I guess, when you're the hacker, you try to find that balance. How much money you want to hold hostage.
here's where I'm going with this. Right. I mean, I guess this is...
Are you... Do I smell... No, you're
not.
Well,
I guess here's what I did.
Okay.
Is I looked at the address. Anybody can. You can go look it up on blockchain right now. Blockchain.info or whatever it is. 45 only out of all of these thousands of systems.
Yeah.
Hundreds of countries.
Yeah.
Only 45 people have paid the ransom.
That's it?
It's public. The address is right there.
Yeah, so that's it. 45.
45 as of us going on the air right now. That's weird too, right? Kind of makes it seem like it's not that big of a deal in a way. Because $300 is a good deal to get your data back.
Wait, 45.
It's not like it's thousands of dollars.
Well,
it's $300.
To be fair, that the number doesn't correlate to the number of machines infected, of course.
Of course, yeah.
You may have some smart, like after the first exploit, the first WannaCry outbreak, they figured out that there's a way to get around it, like unplugging in, changing your local host DNS entry to point to a different place, and so maybe the same fix applies. I don't know, but
I mean, it would seem to be that you would have to pay per computer to decrypt the information. And also, if I follow the timeline correctly, people have still been paying even after their email servers were shut down. So you never get the email with the key if you pay them at this point. And people, I think, have still been paying. I might have the timeline wrong, but I believe that is the case.
I was going to say, another in the chat room saying, the amount is irrelevant. The malware was a cover for an attack on the Ukraine infrastructure.
Perhaps, but it also affected computers in Europe, in Russia, and in the U.S.
So, I think maybe another's on the right track a little bit. Is it's not about the ransom. It's not about the amount money. It's just a matter of causing a disruption and showing vulnerabilities in these systems.
Okay. I mean, I'm thinking, like, is this the way you do that? Ransomware is that the way you do it?
Well, because I guess the ransomware, that's the shock value, right? That's like, oh my God, my computer, all my stuff, I didn't back up my crap. It's all locked out. That's gonna make a headline.
If I was gonna roll some bacon, it would go a little something like this.
Okay.
I'm a big computer geek who's invested a lot of money into Bitcoin.
All right.
And Bitcoin's been on a hell of a rally recently.
Yes, they have.
And in the last couple of weeks, it's been pretty much a semi-decline. It's had a couple of peaks, but it's mostly the trend is downward. And here's what I know. I know this WannaCry thing just wreaked havoc across computers with this unpatched vulnerability. The information's out there on how to write it. The tools, the kit's been half written by the NSA for me. What I could do is slap a few of these things together, start spreading it around, and I could artificially raise the price of Bitcoin, or at least keep it high while I sell out my Bitcoin, because this drives a lot of attention. People start buying Bitcoin. People, 45 people maybe went and bought Bitcoin now.
And by the way,
but also it could drive more. Like I'm just saying, this is another.
No,
it could literally just be some Bitcoin hacker that wants to raise the price.
And by the way, NVIDIA just released a video card.
That shit's stupid. You know what? So AMD and NVIDIA.
AMD was great for a while, right?
Here's my question. Yeah. I was gonna put this in user error, but why aren't they making it like this for why aren't what they're doing for these cards they should do for all video cards? They're making the fans capable of running 24/7 under additional heat. They're making them essentially more robust. Yeah. They're not doing anything crazy powerful for compute. And by the way, little Unfilter tip: if you're trying to mine Bitcoin on your GPU, you're wasting your money and your time. You need an ASIC at this point.
Was demanded. Security experts say Tuesday's cyber attack shares something in common with last month's WannaCry attack. Both were spread by using digital break-in tools allegedly created by the National Security Agency and recently leaked to the web. Systems that did not perform necessary security patches made for easy targets.
We have built up over the years a huge digital debt. We haven't been patching our systems effectively. We haven't been keeping them up to date. And that really has led to this sort of problem occurring again and again.
A Microsoft spokesperson says we are continuing to investigate and will take appropriate action to protect customers. Customers have to protect themselves.
Did you hear that last part right there, Chase?
No, I missed that.
Protect customers. Customers have to protect themselves.
Yeah. Disconnect it from the internet.
Yeah.
Install a patch. You don't need tons of cyber legislation and think tanks and panels and contractors.
The problem is when these companies are being gross negligent in regards to that stuff, when they are being lazy or they're cutting budgets and they're not paying attention to IT security.
And there's also when you outsource monitoring and management and they have to be able to remotely monitor, it has to be connected to some sort of routable IP address space so that way. Now but there are ways around that. You could build an isolated network. You could put a very hardened machine in there that has a network interface. Hell, it could be a firewall that has special rules where a VPN box or something. There are so many ways where you could build a network where you could have it remotely monitored but still have it not addressable via the internet, where things could just spread to it, or just patch your ass. Just patch
it.
So that was sort of the global view, but it did happen. It wasn't just like a Ukrainian thing. That's the thing. It's essentially it gets spread once it gets on the internet, and you have a vulnerable system. It's a worldwide thing.
It is quiet. It's too quiet at the largest terminal, the Port of L.A.
Yeah, it's shut down because of a global cyber attack.
What?
CBS 2's Cara Finstrom is live in San Pedro. And Cara, any word when that terminal will get back to business?
At this point, Sharon, no, but port officials here telling us that they will be reassessing everything a little later on this morning. Take a look. That is the terminal we're talking about behind us right there. You can see the massive cargo moving equipment at a standstill here this morning. Everything was shut down at about 6 yesterday morning at this 8 p.m. terminal. The Danish shipping company Maersk works out of it and is one of the companies that's been targeted in the global ransomware attack. Now, fortunately, a port spokesperson says no ships were due in or out yesterday or today.
Well, that's convenient.
Well, that's nice.
So at this point, the closure has only affected cargo moving and trucking operations. The hackers also targeted U.S. drug maker Merck and food brands Oreo and Nabisco. And as we mentioned, this was a global attack, with Europe hit hard. It crippled banks, airports, hospitals, and even grocery stores.
Crippled them, Chase. Crippled them.
All they got to do is just turn off the computer and turn it back on.
I love how the media's crippled hospitals. You see how they get that?
Yeah.
Crippled hospitals. I love how they write that. They're good. Like these reports, they have time to write these things.
Chris, people are dying. People are dying, and I don't appreciate the joking.
Right.
This is a very
super serious. Behind the scenes, I always like to try to follow the stories that seem to be happening that could be tangentially related, but we're not getting the full take on.
Yeah.
While all of this is going down, one of the companies that originally found some of this NSA malware that's being used was Kaspersky. Does that ring a bell, Kaspersky?
Yeah, that's a Russian company, I believe, right?
Yeah, and they got offices here in the U.S., and they're pretty well respected in terms of security researchers, and they've often gotten kind of annoyed at people implying that, they're just a bunch of, cover for the Russian government, because they're like, no, we stand on our research. Like, our research speaks for itself.
Right,
this is good public stuff here that we've published. But today, they got a knock on the door from the FBI.
FBI agents on Tuesday visited at least a dozen employees of Kaspersky Lab, a Russia-based cybersecurity company, inquiring about the company's operations as part of a counterintelligence inquiry. A classic FBI investigative tactic. Agents visited the homes of the employees at the end of the workday, sources said. Kaspersky has long been of interest to the U.S. government. Its cybersecurity software is widely used in the U.S., and its billionaire owner has close ties to some Russian intelligence figures, according to United States officials.
So that's, how would you pronounce that, Chase? That name right there, Wookit? Wookit?
Wookit?
Wookit. They generate
Wookit?
news clips. Yeah, it's one of their generated. And I don't know if they programmatically put the piano music in there or how that, if that's human. But yeah, so the FBI is investigating Kaspersky, and they also went to their home. So as these guys are getting home from work, the FBI is sitting there waiting for them.
Now I wonder legally. I mean, you're just an employee, and then you're off the clock. You're not. You don't have to talk to them.
I don't know. Maybe you do. I
mean, you can't be made to talk to them.
I feel like you probably could in a way.
I don't know. I
like if they have a subpoena, right? Like like if they have like a subpoena to search your house.
Well, you mean a search warrant?
Oh yeah, yes, sorry, yeah.
Right,
search warrant.
but I mean, you're not legally required to talk.
But if they show up at your house with a search warrant, like they're going to go through your house.
They could search your house, yes.
Yeah.
But as far as having to talk to them, you don't have to talk to them.
Right. Maybe they come up and they can got a deal for you.
Hey, what's Putin telling you?
Let's go back to that conversation. The Sawana now Petya, or however you want to say it, is exploiting these vulnerabilities that the NSA stockpiled. These essentially these backdoors, these zero-day exploits, which give them backdoor access to proprietary Windows systems. I think this is another example. There's many, we've covered several of them in TechSnap in the past too. Examples where a backdoor is put in and eventually it gets leaked out. Or a vulnerability is discovered, it's held, eventually it's made public, and then everybody jumps on it. I find that to be probably the lens we should look at this next story in.
Investigators looking into the St. Petersburg metro bombing in April say the attacker and his accomplices used a controversial encrypted messaging service.
You mean like Telegram?
To plan and carry out the atrocity. I got more details earlier from our correspondent Ilya Petrenko.
The Telegram messaging app is famous for its outstanding levels of privacy, with all the encryption, with the secret chats. Just to remind you, almost 3 months ago, a suicide bomber killed 15 people in the St. Petersburg metro. And the investigation into that got to the point when the Russian Federal Security Service are saying that at all stages of the preparation, both the attacker and whoever assisted him in Russia and abroad were using Telegram. Another thing that they're saying is that Telegram, with all its encryption features, has become the most widely used app by terrorist organizations in Russia.
Yikes. That sounds like it's going to be a lot of pressure.
Oh, man, Theresa May is going to really want that back door.
And I think the Russian government is setting up pressure, too. I think it's going to be coming from their own home turf as well.
Oh, boy.
I think Telegram is going to be... It's going to be under a lot of pressure.
So what we're going to switch to next?
Name
Chris?
dropping. You know, do we care? I mean, you look at the success of things like Slack and Skype and Telegram and WhatsApp and iMessage. I don't think people care.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I love you and I'm on my way home. You know, I don't really care. Yeah, I'll be there at 5. People just don't care.
Yeah,
where people care, there's things like Signal and Wire and things that I think probably have a better chance of being really private. And I think people that have legitimate privacy concerns are already on those systems.
Yeah, it's not going to stop.
I would not throw as much praise at Telegram as they do it in that RT report. Telegram is using their own secret sauce for encryption. Yes, I understand they have a bounty, but they seem to be like they're a little arrogant about it. And the one thing that's always held to be true in all of history about crypto is the worst crypto is the crypto that you roll yourself. The only good crypto is the crypto that is proven through history and publicly audited and looked at and worked on by lots of smart people. Private crypto that you roll yourself is always the worst crypto. The problem is you're only so smart.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
So I would not be surprised if one day we discover Telegram has some massive core vulnerability in its encryption. But that's not why I use it. I mean, I'm in public groups. I actually honestly assume anything I put in Telegram somebody could post or screenshot.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of it either.
That's why I always have tapes. I always have tapes going. I always keep tapes going.
By the way, ABC News just moved out of Como. We have some space left over now. And they left literally 3 cases of cassette blank tapes.
Ooh. You know, you should send those to the White House. Because I hear they could use some tapes.
See if Trump needs them.
Tonight, more than a month after a mystery he made himself, President Trump's putting it to rest, revealing he has no tapes of talks with the FBI director he fired. In a carefully phrased tweet, he writes, "I did not make and do not have any such recordings," 6 weeks after implying he might have. Quote, "James Comey better hope that there are no tapes of our conversations before he starts leaking to the press."
Now, one thing I do want to say about that tweet is it does seem slightly less obnoxious in retrospect, now that we know that James Comey did actually, in fact, leak to the press.
True. But maybe James Comey didn't care about leaking to the press because it was the truth. And that's why it was like the tapes.
I'm just
I don't
saying.
care about tapes.
I'm just saying that tweet is a little less obnoxious now that we know he actually
Lordy,
was a leaker.
I hope there's tapes.
That was weird, though, right?
Yeah.
Leaking to the press.
Why the game?
I don't know there was a game. No games and no regrets.
I love her. I'm in her fan club, dude. I'm seriously. If she's on Twitter, I'm going to follow
honestly,
her.
man, I think you're in the White House press secretary club. You like Spicer, you like Sarah.
Yeah, I
They're both
admit.
good.
I admit it's but okay. But look at it from my perspective. Like, you got to watch all these press conferences all the time, and they're so boring, dude.
I know.
And these people, like this Sarah Huckabee Sanders here and Spicy Sean, they just make it so much more interesting than the average press conference.
Oh, totally.
No regrets, his spokesperson says, about the original tweet, which set off a 41-day stretch unlike any other in a modern presidency. The tweet, May 12th, led James Comey to give his memos, he says, to a friend that following Monday to share publicly, hoping that would trigger a special counsel.
I still maintain that I would believe those memos were written from day one for the purpose of leaking. And having watched the testimony of several different administration officials, parsing what they've said, I think James Comey was a leaker. And I think one of the things that Trump was frustrated about was that he was leaking everything except for what Trump wanted. And that's why Trump was pissed. And that's why he fired him like a child. He fired him like a childish reaction because he knew that James Comey was leaking all day long, but he wouldn't leak what he wanted him to.
Interesting.
And I think that's why Comey wrote the memos. Most of what Comey works in is classified or isn't public information. He wrote these memos intentionally in a way and distributed them in such a way that would permit him to release them publicly, legally later on. That means from the very first memo he wrote, the way he wrote it, the way he structured it, what he disclosed, and how he distributed it and who he distributed it to, and how he marked it when he distributed it to them, allowed him to release it as public at any time.
Yeah.
That is meditated.
Yeah, it's meditated, but I also can look at it as a possible insurance policy he set up for himself.
I'm just saying that's a pretty calculated political.
Well, we can say calculated in retrospect because that's how it played out. But maybe at the time when he started writing these memos, he didn't think he was going to get fired. I think it was more of a protectionary measure. And then once he got canned, he's like, well, if the gloves are off now, might as well, and execute his plan. But I don't know if that was his mindset at the get-go. Maybe it was just a matter of a protectionary measure. That's what I think, anyway.
Yeah, I could also see that because the way that Comey was distributing these memos so that way he could release them publicly later on, I could also see that information going up the chain a little bit to Jeff Sessions.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Comey's got these memos on your conversations.
Yeah, Jeff's a good guy, isn't he?
So then Jeff goes to Trump, right?
Yeah. And
then that's where this "you better not start leaking to the press" comes from, because.
But then why the hell did he bring up the term tapes? Why bring it up at all?
The only thing I can think of is the man tweets with reactions to what he's seen on TV, and there was a lot of comparisons to Nixon and Watergate and tapes at the time.
Yeah, but if he knows that and there's comparisons happening, don't say something that could see, because now he like I said last week on the show, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago.
You don't say it at all. You just don't say it.
You don't say it because now you're in a lose-lose situation.
And then what's with like the 40+ days on an answer?
Oh, see, and then
if it's no, then say no on day 2.
Maybe because he's saying no because maybe there are tapes. I mean, a lie is a lie, right?
So it's weird because 2 things about this are extremely weird. Actually 3 things. 1, that he said it. 2, how long it took them to give an official response. And then 3, that the official response, instead of being a statement from the White House or the press secretary, was tweets from Trump. Like, it was positioned as if there would be an official statement by Donald Trump on it.
You're going to find out later next week. And then he tweets it out on... Now, first off, he tweets it out on a Thursday, which if Trump knew better, he should have done it on a Friday, News Dump Fridays. But he didn't.
Comey to give his memos, he says, to a friend that following Monday to share publicly, hoping that...
Hey, you see how he knew? He knew. Share it with the press on Monday.
Don't do it on a Friday.
He got the
Do
it on a Monday.
James Comey to give his memos, he says, to a friend that following Monday to share publicly, hoping that would trigger a special counsel. It did, May 17th. And now, according to a former intelligence official, an investigation into whether the president tried to obstruct justice in his conversations with Comey. Tapes could have helped prove it or not.
Lordy, I hope there are tapes.
The president and his team letting the question dangle for days.
Are there tapes, sir?
Oh, you're going to be very disappointed when you hear the answer.
The president has
Why didn't he just give him the answer right then?
nothing further to add on that.
Why didn't they give him the answer then?
Nothing further on that. When he's ready to make that announcement, we'll let you know.
In the he said battle between the two and which story has more legitimacy, Director Comey has memos to back up these conversations. He documented it in almost real time.
Yeah, pretty convenient.
Now, another question, as the president suggests spying concerns, downplayed by his aides, tweeting about recently reported electronic surveillance, adding, I have no idea whether there are...
So the whole tweet, the whole tweet is really a treat. And I think this is him trying to set context. So the only part of they've only read the second half of the tweet in this whole report. The first tweet, right before it, reads,
the first part, yeah.
With all of the recently reported electronic surveillance, intercepts, unmasking, and illegal leaking of information, I have no idea, ...
Well, he did that so it could show that he's continuing.
Yeah, I
his
know.
thought, yeah.
Whether there are tapes or recordings of my conversations with James Comey. But I did not make and do not have any such recordings. They've only read the last part, so he's trying to set the context, I guess.
I don't think he fully wrote this tweet, especially the second half. I think he sat down with somebody, especially the sentence of I did not make and do not have any such recordings. That does not sound like to me a guy like Trump would say.
You're right. Somebody wrote that tweet for him.
The exception is there's a double space between I and did, but other than that, I think this was crafted by him and his team. Whoever that team is, I don't know. But that's what it just feels like, because this doesn't feel like a Trump tweet.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
Recordings of his Comey conversations. And the Russia story overall going nowhere tonight. NBC News has learned from a U.S. official familiar with the conversation that the president's director of national intelligence testified today behind closed doors. President Trump seemed obsessed with that Russia investigation.
Yeah, it's Trump that's obsessed, for sure. For sure.
Well,
yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I guess for a little while, Obama was pretty obsessed. This was interesting. Since our last episode, there has been sort of a backfilling of the narrative about how in the last moments of the Obama administration, they struggled to shut down Vladimir Putin's evil plan.
Just minutes ago, the Washington Post posted a story with the headline, Obama's secret struggle to punish Russia for Putin's election assault. According to the reporting, U.S. intel had sourcing deep inside Moscow, reporting even capturing President Vladimir Putin's direct instructions to damage Hillary Clinton's chances of winning and help elect Donald Trump.
Whoa, man. So we have direct reporting now. We can't tell you how, but we have direct reporting from deep within the Putin government. Here's another take on the report.
A report this morning claims Russian President Vladimir Putin gave direct instructions to help elect Donald Trump president. According to a Washington Post investigation, former President Obama received
hold on. Let's back up a little bit.
President. According to a Washington Post investigation.
Let's stop right there. I think we should have a rule in the media. Like, Washington Post does whatever they want, that's fine. But I feel like CBS, NBC, ABC, CNN, and MSNBC and Fox should all collude together. And the New York Times should get in there. And anybody else maybe that has like an audience greater than 500,000.
Okay.
They all should get together and collude in a dark, smoky room. And they should say, all right, guys, here's a new policy. Whenever the Washington Post has a story, none of us run it unless we can independently verify it.
Right. Don't trust on their sourcing. Get your own sourcing.
Because the Washington Post, like, at this point, has such a bad track record. It's like somebody needs to create a website, just a website dedicated to the amount of retractions and corrections.
I bet there's already one.
And what's crazy is these very hearings that we just slogged through over the last few weeks of this show, with Comey, with Jed Johnson, with Sessions. All of these hearings, one thing that is repeated over and over again is the media reporting, especially from the New York Times, the Washington Post, and CNN, is very flawed. In fact, Comey says something like it's just completely off basis. I can't remember the wording he uses, but essentially it's completely off base. It's completely 100% wrong. And yet we are still today just rolling with it. We're just rolling with it. Like these these former government officials never said these things. They never testified as if all this reporting has been off base.
To help elect Donald Trump president. According to a Washington Post investigation, former President Obama received a secret CIA report in August. That report, quote, captured Putin's specific instructions on the operation's audacious objectives, defeat or at least damage the Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton. Jeff Pegues has the story of how the former president struggled to respond.
Now, all that said, I could kind of buy it. Like, if I was Putin, I would probably pull for Trump over Hillary.
Oh, totally.
Jeff, good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning. CBS News confirmed last year that U.S. intelligence officials knew the Russian government operation to interfere in the U.S. election.
You see how he makes it sound like they confirmed last year, but what he's actually saying is last year intelligence officials knew, and CBS has confirmed this.
Right.
It's a weird way he states it.
Right. He's implying
that they've known for a year.
That CBS has confirmed it, but they didn't confirm it. They just
found out about it.
Exactly.
And the intelligence officials have known for a year.
Had been approved by Vladimir Putin himself, but they were reluctant to reveal how much they knew out of concern that sources and methods could be compromised. This morning, the Washington Post is reporting that U.S. intelligence agencies had sourcing deep inside the Russian government, capturing Putin's direct instructions in the operation. The Post also reports that before he left office, former President Obama set in motion a secret program that authorized the deployment of implants in Russian networks, digital bombs that...
Jesus. That's an amazing thing to get revealed.
You know probably why this was revealed, right? I mean, it was probably from Trump's tweet, and the accusation, that Obama didn't do anything. So is this why we're hearing about this now?
So then somebody counter leaks? Well, not only did he do something, but he gave the order to implant digital bombs.
Right, so there.
In Russian networks, digital bombs that could be triggered in a retaliatory cyber strike.
Stop for a second and imagine if it was revealed that digital bombs were discovered, implanted by the Canadian government or by China or by Russia. I mean, that is a huge revelation of a cyber aggression.
Yeah.
Obama set in motion a secret program that authorized the deployment of implants in Russian networks, digital bombs that
could be fair, Obama loved the drones, so anything electronic.
I can't believe this. Like, they're a sovereign country. This seems like this is confirmation that a U.S. government official gave an order to violate their sovereignty.
Former President Obama set in motion a secret program that authorized the deployment of implants in Russian networks, digital bombs that could be triggered in a retaliatory cyber strike in the event of Moscow aggression, and that it would be up to President Trump to decide to use the capability. CBS News confirmed that Obama officials felt that their effort to expel Russian diplomats in retaliation was undermined by the incoming administration. Determining whether that is true is part of the ongoing investigations. CBS News has confirmed that congressional investigators are looking into whether Trump campaign associates obtained information.
So I'm inclined to believe that, just because of the fact that, remember when all the diplomats were expelled?
Yeah.
And Putin was like, yeah, don't worry. Hey, families, come on over and hang out with us for Thanksgiving.
That was kind of around the time that there was going to be some phone calls.
Right. And it's like you definitely got the impression that Putin was like, I'm not worried because, Trump's going to be inaugurated here in January. Not a big deal.
I could see that undermining something.
Right. But the kind of thing where it's like, not a big deal. No, don't worry about it.
I agree. When Putin did that, it was almost like a tell that he had been
huge tell.
Yeah, he had been in communication with somebody.
Yeah.
And I could definitely see that being a frustrating thing for the Obama administration, because
sure.
like, I'm currently the one still in power here.
So you're a lame duck president. There's a major security issue, and you're being undermined to get something done about it. Yeah, I could see that.
Leaders are looking into whether Trump campaign associates obtained information from hacked voter databases during the election. So far, there is no evidence of that, but it is a sign that the congressional investigations are expanding. Nora.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk more about like the election and collusion and Russia because
Chris, Trump is our president. Okay, he won like 500 electoral votes,
and that's why he gets the mouthpiece on his Twitter account.
This morning, the president appears to be responding to statements from a senior Democrat over the weekend that the Obama administration should have done more last fall once it was clear
Catherine.
Russia
Nope.
was interfering in the U.S. election. Here's the ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee speaking on a Sunday talk show.
It's your buddy.
I think the Obama administration should have done a lot more when it became clear that not only was Russia intervening, but it was being directed at the highest levels of the Kremlin.
We are witnessing something happen right here. Adam Schiff is essentially accusing the Obama administration, and I have the full clip in the supporter sync, of not taking action. And so the current state of affairs is somewhat on their shoulders. Now, what I make of this is the Adam Schiff-led Russian narrative is so important to the Democrats right now, to their re-election efforts. It is such an essential narrative that they are willing to throw Obama under the bus a bit on this.
What if Obama's saying, go ahead?
No way.
No, you don't
way.
think so?
No, absolutely not. He's starting up a new foundation. He's doing interviews.
Well, that's the
He's
thing.
trying to stay in the
thing,
political
right?
scene.
Like
he wants influence.
Well, Obama, he just tweeted about healthcare not too long ago. I think it's possible. I think it's possible just because of the fact he's like, you know what, if you need to put it through.
No way.
You don't
no,
think so, huh?
I mean, I'm sorry to disagree so strongly.
No, it's
but
okay.
No
I'm just
way.
throwing out a possible
No
theory.
way. No way. And because going back to what you said earlier, I think some of these leaks that came out about being undermined by
trying to do something.
That is the Obama team responding back, trying to push back against this narrative. And a few weeks ago, when something else was getting pinned on Obama, a few weeks ago, Josh Earnest came out, and a bunch of other people started pushing back. So there is active pushback when there's an anti-Obama narrative. Plus, you also have Clinton. You have Hillary, who's still in the game. She's starting up her PAC, her super PAC, which is just marvelous, just absolutely marvelous. And so it seems to me, I don't know. Listen to Adam Schiff, but to me it seems like they're pinning blame on Obama a bit in an effort to sell the overall narrative.
When it became clear that not only was Russia intervening, but it was being directed at the highest levels of the Kremlin, I was urging that they begin then the process of sanctioning Russia, the administration talking more forcefully about what the Russians had done. I think that was a mistake.
Was this interview before or after that we found out that Obama had a secret kind of thing going on and trying to do something about it? Do we know?
Well, this was this Sunday, so I don't.
So this was before. I think maybe Adam is not letting on too much here because maybe it's one of those things where he didn't know.
Yeah.
Writing on Twitter this morning, the president said the reason that President Obama did nothing about Russia after being notified by the CIA of meddling is that he expected Clinton would win, and he did not want to rock the boat. He didn't choke. He colluded or obstructed, and it did the Dems and crooked Hillary no good.
You find it very interesting that he's using the exact two terms, collusion and obstruction.
Yeah.
In that order.
Yeah.
I just find that very fascinating.
Actually, I've noticed a lot that he'll take terms that are getting used against him, like fake news.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't start fake news.
No, he didn't.
But he took it, and he owned it, and he turned it back around on them. He also does that. He did that with the Hitler meme, too.
Meantime, a spokesman for the Republican chairman of the powerful Senate Judiciary Committee, Chuck Grassley, confirming to Fox News that the FBI has failed to provide information to the committee about the unverified anti-Trump dossier and the extent to which the FBI relied on that dossier during the Russia investigation.
Yeah, so they won't give up the goods. So they asked, well, so this whole ball get rolling because of this stupid dossier that's now that even Comey said is salacious and fake. Those are his words. So since Comey says it's salacious and fake, we would just like to know how much was it a part of the investigation? Was it what you used to get warrants and start wiretapping associates? Was this the premise that this entire thing started from? And we would like that in writing, if you could. And the FBI is like, yes, sir, we will get that to you. We will get that to you. Okay, could we have that next week? Absolutely. Next week comes along, they didn't get it. The next week comes along. We'd still like to have it. Now we are 3 weeks in. They still don't got it.
The company behind the dossier, Fusion GPS, has also failed to comply with the committee's requests. The person who brought the dossier to the attention of Senator John McCain last year, former British Ambassador Sir Andrew Wood, recently told Fox News that he also believed the intelligence in that report had to be verified before it was used, Heather.
They were able to get a comment, by the way, from McCain. He was saying that he's deeply concerned.
Yeah, I bet he is. Was he out of breath, too?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Now, this is an interesting clip from the current CIA director, your good friend,
my friend,
Pompeo.
Buddy.
And this has been something that I've been saying for a few weeks on the show, where I say there probably is a little tiny bit of fire to create all of this Russia hacked the election smoke. I truly believe there probably was some sort of meddling, quote unquote, by Russia to try to represent their interests. I've been saying that for weeks, and now Mike Pompeo is going to say it.
CIA Chief Mike Pompeo claims Russian meddling in the U.S. presidential elections was just a part of a decades-long effort to undermine American democracy. Well, Russia has always denied any interference, while Pompeo's statement comes in his first TV interview after taking up the post of CIA director in January.
So I don't know, maybe the CIA director doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, but he's going to come on here and he's going to tell you what the real meddling was, what the real hacking is.
I can't talk about the details of the intelligence, but the intelligence community has said that this election was meddled with by the Russians in a way that is frankly not particularly original. They've been doing this for an awfully long time, and we are decades into the Russians trying to undermine American democracy.
They've been doing it all the time. It's just part of it. And now because they have the means, a little bit of cyber is part of the mix.
Cyber, a little bit of business dealings,
golf
courses,
little
things.
funding, little spying.
Yeah.
That's all just part of the mix now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think so.
This is par for the course.
So I want to talk about CNN's bad week here for a bit, because it's kind of related to coverage of all of these stories. Let's start. So there was, obviously, it was in the intro clip, there was this Project Veritas. We'll talk more about them here in a moment, but there was this leak. But before that all came out, CNN was already kind of having a bit of a shit. And this sandwich that they made is the tastiest of shit sandwiches, and they ended up having to fire 3 people.
Time now for news abuse. CNN's descent from news organization to political campaign is nearly complete. Last week, the channel published a story linking Trump ally Anthony Scaramucci to a Russia-controlled investment fund they said was being investigated by the Senate. And yet on Friday, CNN had to apologize to Scaramucci, which they did. They retracted the story completely and admitted it did not meet CNN's editorial standards, and that's saying something. Tonight, 3 reporters who worked on the piece resigned their jobs. At least one of them, a guy called Eric Lichtblau, who was at the New York Times, had worked on another CNN piece earlier this month about Trump. That piece also turned out to be false. You remember it maybe, when CNN told us that Jim Comey, the former FBI director, was going to come before the Senate and contradict the president's claim that he was not under investigation. And Comey had told him so. That's what CNN told us. It turned out to be untrue, and provably so. Lichtblau helped write that one, too. He may go back to the New York Times, where he came from in April. We'll see. It's been 7 months, though, since Trump won the presidential election. Since then, precisely no evidence has emerged to support the claim that Trump somehow colluded with the Russian government in order to win the race. But you'd never know that from watching that channel, which has become home for conspiracists on the Russia question worldwide. Last February, to name yet another example, CNN produced a story accusing Trump associates of repeated contacts with Russian intelligence. That report turned out to be almost identical to a report by the New York Times that Jim Comey called out specifically for being grossly inaccurate. We could go on and on and on. Overall, 93% of CNN's coverage of the Trump administration has been negative. 93%.
I'll stop there. So he said, she said. But I find some of this to be really kind of interesting, because there's been leaks that there was discussion that now within CNN they're going to have one person responsible for reviewing all of their Russia coverage after this. And I'll tell you, you could just go through our supporter sync this week and sort by date modified and look at the CNN stories. Look how they are all about Russia. And then for the last couple of days, there's some Russia stuff in there. They're still talking about Russia, but they're also talking about a lot of other stuff now.
Well, it It always goes back to the old adage, if it bleeds, it leads kind of a thing, where unfortunately right now news organizations, it's all coming down to the dollar and people watching. And it's not just CNN that's guilty of this. I think they're all guilty of it, where they need to appease their base, and right now CNN is like becoming the magnet source for people who don't like Trump.
Well,
and that's what
ratings.
Yeah.
It's a business, and that brings us to this Project Veritas leak. Project Veritas has a bit of a reputation. Probably the most polarizing thing they've done recently is they published the Planned Parenthood videos that were selectively edited to a degree. They also published some of the leaks that showed that Clinton campaign contributors were causing fights and busing in people to different areas during the election. They published all that stuff, and now they've published video of a CNN producer who he's not like some high level producer within CNN. He's like in their health area, but the way he speaks is he speaks as if this is a common held belief within the organization, and it's some interesting audio.
Then why is CNN constantly like Russia this, Russia that?
Because it's ratings.
Because it's ratings?
Our ratings are incredible right now.
Let me ask one quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Does the guy know that he's being recorded?
No. This is how they do it. These people come and they do this kind of stuff, and they consider it journalism, and then they sell it, or Project Veritas funds it to a degree. Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious.
Yeah.
But honestly, you think the whole Russia shit is just like bullshit.
Could be bullshit. I mean, it's mostly bullshit right now. Like, we don't have any big giant proof.
We don't have any big giant
proof.
proof.
But here's the thing. That's not a news organization to have the proof per se.
Yeah.
I mean, right now... I'm just saying, on a legal investigation, I would hope that no news organization has, quote, the proof.
Otherwise, it should be the story.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like they don't really have it, but they want to keep digging.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the president is probably right to say, like, look, you are witch hunting me. Like, you have no smoking gun. You have no real proof.
And the videos, there's like a lot of little bits and pieces in here. They also, they talk about how CNN decided to pull off the climate accords.
And the CEO of CNN said in our internal meeting, he said, good job, everybody, covering the climate accords. But we're done with it. Let's get back to Russia.
Because that's where the ratings is at.
Yeah.
It's be the ratings.
Right.
That'd be the ratings.
Now, that being said, there may not be any, laws broken, let's say, for example. I mean, we don't know what we don't know what we don't know yet. However, there are some things that are optically just bad, in the conversations and tweets and dishonesty and things like that. So I can understand, CNN is appeasing to that viewer right now who's pissed off about, all those things. So yeah.
Well, hold that thought, because I feel like let's have that conversation, because I want to go back and forth on that a bit, but I want to play a little more of the audio, because you're right. It's a business, and I want to play part of this a little more and then have a conversation about that.
So you believe like the Russia thing's a little crazy, right?
Even if Russia was trying to swing an election, we try to swing their elections. We're in our CIA and doing shit all the time. Like, we're out there trying to manipulate governments. Like, you win because you know the game and you play it right. She didn't play it right.
Then why is CNN constantly like Russia this, Russia that?
Because it's ratings.
Because it's ratings?
Our ratings are incredible right now.
In the month.
Now, they go in, this Veritas video goes into the ratings and shows how they're up, but obviously that's what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
And then a little bit more, and then we'll have them.
So, my boss, I shouldn't say this, my boss a couple days yesterday, we were having a discussion about this dental shoot, and he's like, I just want you to know what we're up against here. And he goes, just to give you some context, President Trump pulled out of the climate accords, and for a day and a half we covered the climate accords, and the CEO of CNN said in our internal meeting, he said, good job everybody covering the climate accords, but we're done with it, let's get back to Russia.
Get back to Russia. Get back to Russia, because that's where the ratings are at. It's cynical in a way. And then here's my favorite piece. This is one of my, because this is the piece this is really why I think this show excels as a crowdfunded show. I think that's why people have this next piece is why people have an inherent distrust in the media. It's not because of coverage of vaccines or gay rights. It's because people have an intuitive sense that their priorities and business goals are not aligned with information that they need. So people have an instinctive understanding that their goals and the viewers' goals are not in alignment.
So I understand it's all ratings, right?
Oh, it's a business. It's a business. People are like, the media has like an ethical... But all the nice, cutesy little ethics that used to get talked about in journalism school, you're just like, that's adorable. That's adorable. Yeah, this is a business. Especially cable news, you know. Cable news isn't the New York Times, and it's not even like NBC News. NBC News still gets 20 million viewers a night. Cable news is getting 1 million. So, they gotta do what they gotta do to make their money, I think. And so I love the news business, but
I find it so
I'm
fascinating.
very cynical about it. At the same time, so are most of my colleagues.
So are most of my colleagues. So yeah, this is what we were saying. Now here, okay, all right, very good. So that's this one guy's opinion. It seems also to be the opinion of frequent commentator Van Jones.
Hey, man. We met in Palm Springs a few years back.
Good to see you, man. You good?
Yeah. How you been? What are you doing? What do you think's going to happen this week? I mean, with the whole Russia thing.
Let me just say this real quick. Project Veritas, okay?
It reminds me of a backup program.
And by the way, this is just quick off the cuff. They're just as guilty what CNN is doing. They are
selectively editing.
Well, not only selectively
hidden
editing,
camera,
but they're also hammering down on the Russia thing. Now, their Russia angle is different, right? Their Russia angle is, look what CNN is doing. They're covering Russia all the time. So what is PV trying to do? They're trying to point out the Russia thing that they're doing all the time. You see what I mean? They're
still adding energy and spin to the whole Russia story.
Right. They're just putting their spin on it.
Yeah.
They're just as guilty in it.
Yeah, in a sense.
In a sense.
It's like they're still milking the same cow.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because if you notice, they have a URL at the bottom of their screen. They want you to throw money at them.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, just like what CNN is trying to do.
And I have to tell you,
the other company.
I have to tell you, it's because everybody is working really hard, in a sense, to tell their version of the story.
Right.
As even us, to a degree, we're doing the same thing, but for us, really the agenda here is to sort of play. We've been playing both these sides, and you see here on a much more meta level. You're right. These guys are in the trenches at the same thing, fighting the same battle, just different sides. We're sitting here analyzing it more on a meta level.
Right.
So it's not quite comparative, but it is extremely fascinating because we're all trying to make sense of what the fuck is actually going on.
Right.
And this is how it's done, I guess.
Well,
I guess.
Well, the thing is, while this gives us insight about how the news is being covered and how stories are being spun,
and the people behind the news,
people behind
like
it,
we heard
Megyn
Megyn Kelly last week,
it still doesn't give me honest, factual information. It doesn't do it.
Right.
This is showing me that CNN, and I hope they do this for other outlets. I know, but I just hope that they do the same.
What do you think's going to happen this week? I mean, with the whole Russia thing.
The Russia thing is just a big nothing burger.
Really?
It's a big nothing burger. So that's it. Because then somebody walks up and recognizes them.
The Russia thing is just a big nothing burger.
It's a big nothing burger, which I find interesting. Before we move on,
the Russia thing is just a big nothing burger.
You know where that nothing burger is from? Do you remember the last time we've heard nothing burger?
I don't remember.
Oh. I do. I very clearly remember. It was Hillary Clinton on stage. Walt Mossberg and Kara Swisher were sitting there.
That's right.
And she says this whole email story was the biggest nothing burger of the decade.
Yes, I remember. Holy
He's
crap.
using the same language of Hillary Clinton, just like Comey had to use the same language of Hillary Clinton. Anyways, okay, so, yeah, you've raised a lot of good points. Let's talk about all of this here for a second. Let's start with CNN. So CNN is just a business. They got to make ratings. Everybody knows this. That's probably why they listen to this show. That's not the new part of the conversation. What I think we should just spend a minute talking about is, holy shit, how far are they willing to go? They are undermining a presidency. They are harassing a nation state with nukes. They are fraying the conversation, the political conversation, to such an extreme that tribalization is taking place. People are shooting down Congress members in D.C. Like it has gotten to a level that is absolutely toxic. So at what point do we say too much? Like, yeah, everybody's got to make ratings, but holy shit, what is the cost?
Well, I think the producer kind of nailed it on the head, right? They get about 1 million viewers. NBC News gets 20 million.
Yeah, they're all kind of milking that cow.
Right, they're all milking the cow. But at the end of the day, CNN has to go it's not just CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, they all have to go with that extreme sensationalism angle, right, to get the people watching. NBC News, CBS, ABC, not so much, because they have a little bit more of a buffer. They have a national audience over the air and cable and satellite, all these places, right? They have a little bit more flexibility, and so they have more of a, I would hope to say, quote-unquote, duty to be, more factually honest and balanced, right?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely, like CNN...
they don't have to be. They've already found their base.
They'll spend 12 hours on the Russia story,
right.
whereas maybe NBC will spend 20 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because those big organizations, historical news organizations, they honestly, and I've seen it, and this is just my point of view, but I've seen it where, at least on the local level, where it's not about the numbers, it's about getting the story. And now we're seeing a turn when it comes at least to cable news, where they are focused in on that viewership and that demo.
And getting a meme that they can tweet out or something.
Yeah,
They're getting sound bites for Twitter.
Like, we were joking for the longest time that CNN turned into the airplane crash network.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's where they kind of honed in on to get those eyeballs.
Now they're kind of like the conspiracy news network. They really are.
Yeah. But they're not the only ones guilty in it. I mean, they all
MSNBC is pretty bad.
Oh,
too.
yeah. I mean,
and Fox is bad for different reasons. And it's funny because there was a point in time when this show started where Fox, if you would have said who was the most damaging network to the political discourse, I would have easily said Fox News.
Yeah, it would have been
hands down.
Automatic.
Now I'm not so sure because first of all, I don't feel like Fox has a super loud voice in the political discourse in some respects, and then CNN and MSNBC are.
Part of me feels
so
like
off the rails.
Part of me feels like that's why Al Jazeera America failed, because they honestly tried. I watched some of their stuff that they tried to deliver the news in just a factual, non-sensational way. And unfortunately, because of our American appetites, and I think it is an American appetite to a lot of degree, we are not watching.
That also, since that Zuckerberg, not Mark, but the other one, the former NBC executive.
Jeff Zucker?
Yeah, Zucker. Yeah. Is it just Zucker?
I think it's just Zucker.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Not Zuckerberg.
That's Facebook.
It's like there was an immediate tone difference since he took over, and this is just a continuation of his sort of philosophy, I think, of how to make news.
Right. And this is where you can't push it to the metal without having to kind of, back off and really assess, because at some point your viewers on either side are going to get blown out to the point where it's like, what are we doing?
I feel like they truly have damaged their credibility. There's a story I'm going to share in the overtime, but just recently I was at a public setting, and everyone in the public setting was they're all friends, they all knew each other.
Yeah.
And they were all of them were just ridiculing the news. None of them were buying anything they were reporting on. Didn't matter what the topic was. The news has lost.
And I guess this is a deeper dive, maybe for another day. But what makes people get to that point?
I think it's this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing, right?
It's a core understanding of their business. Their business interests are making revenue. They have shareholders. You just kind of understand, like, their goals don't align with your goals.
Let me ask you a question. I was thinking about this last night to myself. If you had the opportunity to ask one question to all of the major news organizations and networks, and you would get an honest answer, 100% honest answer, they wouldn't be allowed to lie, and you would believe them, what would that question be? And the question that I got in my head is, how do you tell the truth? And
my question would be, what are you going to do about YouTube?
That's your one question?
Yeah, because I think that's the bigger question. I think that's in part why they're shitting themselves so badly.
because they're going for the 3-minute YouTube clip?
Yeah, it's not just YouTube, but it's the whole internet. It's Twitter. It's all of it. Like all of it has in the last 18 months, the quote unquote media, using that phrase a lot. But
I know.
when I say that, I mean like the large corporatist networks that are funded by pharmaceutical ads and the kind of stuff that's like really big money. They are to get those big advertisers. They have to be ratings driven. That's how you get those big names and those big brands. It's just a function of the business. And in order to get those ratings, you need access to information. To get access to information, you have to trade political favors.
Yeah,
the only kind of political currency you have is information is access to the airwaves. So they do political favors for people in power that have access to information, so that way they can get the viewership. So that way they can get the ratings, so that way they can then get the big sponsors. Yeah. And eventually what happens is it devolves into trusting a lot of shitty anonymous sources because you so desperately want to continue to feed that ratings monster that you rely on former officials and people that maybe are not familiar with the matter, and you start running with quote-unquote anonymous sources.
Well, and maybe at some point this anonymous source thing needs to stop. And I don't know how you would do it, to be honest.
It's a weird thing to say because as somebody who's on a show called Unfilter, like I celebrated the Snowden leaks.
Right, we all did.
But then at the same time,
because we celebrated them because there was actual physical proof.
They weren't being used as political weapons.
Right, it was just here's the truth, here it is. Yeah. That's all it is. And then here it is, you decide.
Yeah.
Instead of having somebody try to spin it in a certain way, either left or right or whatever.
There's also an interesting undermining effect that happens if you're going into, say, a private hearing or a private meeting. Say you're a government official, and you want to tell somebody something. You've identified corruption. You want to try to move for change. You want to tell your version of a story to somebody, and so you go into a closed private session. Imagine how all of this changes if you almost know with certainty that what you say in that private session is going to get leaked. That changes the game. You no longer go to these private sessions to actually accomplish any good. You go there to accomplish a political means because you know it's going to be a blowhorn for your message. Ironically, the private session becomes a blowhorn. And this is happening, and it's undermining the value of these private sessions.
At your time, I know you met with Director Coates today because you said it was important to find out what was said in that conversation with the president and what he heard, what he interpreted it as, whether it was a suggestion or a warning or something else, what the tone was, what the context was. What did you find out?
What I found out, Aaron, is that about 8 hours ago, Adam Schiff and I looked Dan Coates in the eyes and we assured him that there would be no selective leaking of his testimony to us. And I'll be damned if 8 hours later, there aren't 3 different leaks with what he told us. So if anyone is questioning why congressional investigations aren't taken seriously and are viewed as political exercises, you need look no further than the fact that we looked one of our intelligence officials in the eyes and promised him there would be no selective leaking, and here I am being asked about it not even 8 hours later.
So what's the answer? What do you do?
I don't know, man.
I mean,
it seems like the whole system's
Do you just
screwed.
hold them on live? See, here's the thing that I honestly liked about the Sessions testimony and the Comey thing when it was on live wall-to-wall network television. There was no opportunity for leak, right? It was there. It was in front of us. It was happening.
Yeah.
Because here's what happens. That's not national where people can actually see what's going on, and it's just on cable news or C-SPAN. Unfortunately, no one watches that stuff. And so they rely on the companies to spin it for them for a 2-minute segment, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we need to do more public stuff and just have it there and take it seriously. All those things. I don't know.
Then they're always going to say, "Well, I can't answer that in a public session."
All right. Well, then what you do is
Senator, I would like to give you that answer, but in the public hearing.
All right. So what you do is you get members of the public, I guess, that are selected at random by Social Security number. Get them security clearance. Have them in there as official observers, and then they have to answer one question, yes or no. Did you witness the truth? And that's
I'm
it.
not going to dignify that with an answer.
I don't know what it is, but something needs to change.
Mr. Chase,
yes, Chris.
Why don't you grab your sack, prepare yourself.
All right, I'm adjusting it.
Digging deep. We have ourselves a...
Hello, everybody.
There it is. Let's. Are you ready?
I'm ready, man.
All right, let's do it.
So for this segment, for this special Club 33 segment of Chase the Sack, I decided, hey, I asked you guys, love to hear your Red Book predictions for the summer.
Oh.
So I did a little guest Red Booking for people, and
you clever dog.
I know, a little clever dog for Club 33. Anyway, I wanted to hear from you guys about Russia, Trump, Syria, UK Brexit, FCC net neutrality, anything. Let me know. So Verituna wrote in and says, hey, CNC, Chris and Chase.
Help.
Not sure if it hit your radar, but this whole CNN Veritas reveal about how bogus the mainstream media rhetoric on Russia is, and was gloriously timed along with the whole Seymour Hersh reveal about chemical weapon attacks in Syria and how about manufactured that narrative is, makes you wonder who is telling the biggest porkies. Is it the mainstream media or the U.S. government?
Biggest porky.
Yes. Seems the only people to really lose out is the U.S. electorate and those that are really suffering in poverty without clean water. Truth to that. I predict by the time of the World Cup in Russia in 2018, this entire fabrication will be torn down around MSM and U.S. government's heads, and they will be forced by a new awake and informed public to really start addressing what is wrong with America, and that is basically getting its priorities straight and spending money and effort on internal U.S. issues rather than wasting it bombing where it is not asked elsewhere in the world. Great comment there, Mr. Veritunda. Baker the Clerk writes in, by the way, hey guys, first, just want to say I've been wanting to get in Club 33, and I'm glad to finally do it. Well, welcome aboard. Woohoo!
That's kind of exciting.
I know. I like that. I think we're going to see an exodus from the Democratic Party. This is his Red Book. They are going to continue to lose seats at a rapid rate with the Russian narrative falling down.
Wow, listen, everybody's convinced it's falling apart. Wow.
I also think that we're going to see more libertarian-leaning moves coming from President Donald J. Trump, such as the voucher system for the Department of Energy and trying to privatize the FAA. Just want to say that I love the show and feel great supporting it. Hopefully we get enough supporters to get that, Unfilter supplemental shows.
I've been thinking about it more and more.
Yes.
We're over the halfway hump. We're just barely over the halfway hump right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm wrapping it around in my head more. I'm thinking about how we're going to sort the clips, how we'll structure it.
So we're in preparation. Now, one thing you got to remember, you guys, once we get to that level, we got to sustain that level. It's not like you unlock it and then we slide back.
Oh, that's for sure. Because it's insane amount of work.
It's going to be a insane amount of work.
Yeah.
By the way, Baker the Clerk writes in with a bonus prediction.
Hey,
Chris places Buddy Cucker for the CNN exposed and dings the hell out of the bell.
Parts of it. That could be.
If you guys want to join us over on patreon.com/unfilter, we would really appreciate it because you can get in as low as $2 a month.
Yep.
And that means you're supporting the show. You love what we're doing. But if you want the magic sauce, you want all the back catalog, you want to be a part of the huge community, jump in at $5 or more per month, and you will get magic.
And there's just a few slots left in Club 33 if you want to get in, and you get your voice on the sack. You also get the swag, which just went out a bit ago. Patreon.com/unfilter. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, I do want to say that, Chris, we've had a great month of June. We've added 33 additional patrons.
Really? 33? That's awesome.
Yeah, and the weird thing about it, that includes subtractions and additions. So that is a net 33. So thank you so much, you guys.
Yeah, I think we're going to get there, and I think it's going to really improve the show when we get to 4,000, the next milestone for the supplemental show. I got a little bit of housekeeping before we go.
Oh, and I also want to say one thing real quick. Since this is our last show before the 4th of July holiday in the United States and our territories, I want to...
Hey, by the way, you're welcome to come to a barbecue during the day here at the studio.
I have to work on the 4th.
You son of a bitch. I figured you did.
Actually, I was the one selected to work the 4th.
So I actually just assumed... you just might have to work just because, it's IT stuff. And
actually, time and a half.
News and really? Well,
yeah, time and a half. And then the following week, I get a 3-day weekend, so that's okay.
Well, meetup.com/Jupiter Broadcasting if you're in the area and want to come to the studio for a barbecue.
Oh, yeah. We need to get you down to the studio and do a little shooting.
Dude, yeah. Okay, so before we wrap up, before we get to the high note, and then, geez, we have a huge overtime, too. On the episode that would air on the 19th, I think we're not going to have a show that week because I'm going to be in transit, and I think
Where are you going?
I'm just going to take the time off. I'm going to Montana with Noah.
Nice.
Yeah, and the kids and the ladies.
What would have liked to see in Montana?
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen it twice.
Yeah. It's something we've been planning since last was on the air, and we're just finally going to do it. And the thing is, because I'm going to have an RV full of kids, I just don't think there's any way I can do the show. So I think we'll just take that week off on July 19th. But otherwise, I don't think we'll miss any episodes from that trip. And like I said just a moment ago, if you're in the Pacific Northwest area on the 4th of July and you want to come to the studio and have me cook for you, meetup.com/Jupiter Broadcasting for more details.
You're going to love Chris's meat. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
I had a memory pop up. It was over at JBHQ, where I came over for a barbecue and I stayed for a faux show.
Tasty meat?
Yeah. You know what? Chris can make the tasty meat.
I can. Thanks you. And you, as someone who also can make the tasty meat, I appreciate that.
That's right. I've had you over for a steak.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So let's wrap it up with a high note. This is a story that's been. It's what?
You still owe me a steak.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
What was that for?
It was a Red Book prediction that I was like, I know I was going to be right about, and I was.
Was it the Hillary email server
I think
stuff?
it was something like
Maybe.
that.
Yeah.
Damn, you're right. We got to take care of that.
That's right. Ruth Chris, baby.
We should go.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we should wrap this up right now and go.
No, I can't. But yeah, all right. Let's finish it up. All right.
So this story is floating around a lot this week. There is a new study out. I have lots of links in the show notes that link the rise of recreational pot with a corresponding rise in accidents.
Oh, I heard this and it pissed me off.
So let's break this down a little bit here.
Let's look closely.
Let's go through this, and your good friends,
my buddies
over at CBS This Morning, are going to help us, actually.
All right. Hey, there's Minneapolis, everybody.
New research out this morning claims to show a link between an increased risk of car crashes and legal marijuana use. The Highway Loss Data Institute looked at auto collision claims in Washington, Oregon, and Colorado.
Okay.
Now, those are the states where recreational use is legal.
Now, HLDI, the Highway Loss Data Institute, it's an insurance institute.
And the other thing I want to know, and I really hope they dig into the data, because right now that doesn't mean anything to me. It's like saying, well, Washington has more cars, and therefore the accidents has gone up. That doesn't.
Actually, we're going to get.
Okay.
So here's part of the problem. So I read the study, and it's linked in the show notes. Here's what they did, and it's fundamentally, just to sort of, I guess we can just debunk it before they even get into it, but they compared traffic incidents in the Seattle metro area with traffic incidents in their control groups, and their control groups are states around Washington, and that's like Idaho. So they're comparing Idaho to the Seattle area.
And BC, maybe?
It's all in the study. It's all.
All right.
But my point is, they're comparing areas that are much, much, much more densely populated with areas that are much less, that are much more sparsely populated, I guess you could say.
Yeah, okay.
So that's my first issue with the report.
All right.
The other issue is they don't and this is my second major issue with the report, is they don't distinguish in the report cannabis only incidents. It's if there was anything, if they had alcohol, if cannabis, if THC was amongst anything else in the mix, it's included in this report. Which we hate, because that can be in your system up to a month. You could be 3 beers in, but if you smoked a joint 3 days ago, that's going to show up in this report.
Yeah, okay. But the thing is, I know at least with Washington State Department of the State Patrol, their testing system, they don't use the method where it stays in your system for up to 30 days.
See, you are.
I thought they used that.
No, you're right. So the State Patrol, that is where the CBS report is going to impress. They actually go to the local PO, and they have a bit of a different take on this whole thing.
Data Institute looked at auto collision claims in Washington, Oregon, and Colorado. Now, those are the states where recreational use is legal. It says claims are up about 3%. Since marijuana sales began.
Even with all of this, it's 3%. So let's keep that in mind. This whole is
now, to be fair, 3% could be what, 20 people?
I'm just saying. It's I think it's funny. Like, it's not 33. It's not 47%.
It's 3.
Since marijuana sales began, Barry Peterson shows us the safety concerns and the skepticism about this study. He's at a pot dispensary in Denver. All right, Barry. Good morning.
Oh my God.
Good morning. Well, 2 years ago, Colorado legalized marijuana for recreational use, and this study now seems to show a link between marijuana use and an increase in traffic accidents. For those who supported legalizing marijuana, I have to tell you, this study is not going to be very good news.
I agree, even if this study is completely wrong or if it's even half accurate.
Yeah.
It just having the headlines out there with the amount of coverage it has is going to have momentum.
Colorado led the nation with the first sales of legal recreational marijuana in 2014. But the drug's impact on roadway crashes has not been well documented. Today, the Highway Loss Data Institute reported an increase in insurance claims filed for collisions in Colorado, Washington, and Oregon, 3 states where recreational marijuana is legal. Matt Moore oversaw the study.
Colorado, just relative to the states around it, we're seeing an increase of almost 14%.
It's the same situation in Colorado, too.
But those numbers do not match what the Colorado State Patrol has tracked.
Now, this really surprised me. Because this is where I thought, oh boy, they're going to double down.
It's going to make it higher. You thought right here, oh God, it's going to be higher.
Sergeant Rob Madden says the agency has actually seen a decrease in the number of driving impaired accidents since pot sales became legal.
Now, here's what's tremendous about this.
Okay.
In a reality where the police are saying we're actually seeing a decrease, where it's actually improved the safety and improved people's lives.
Yeah.
But because this agency that writes reports writes them for the insurance companies, their motivation is to tell the insurance companies it's time to jack up the rates.
Make more money.
And so the insurance companies are going to buy this report.
So wait, are you saying, Chris, that money is influencing this report?
So
and this is not based on scientific data?
This company makes money by selling this report to the insurance companies, and the insurance companies need a damn good reason to buy the report.
So you're saying that they're biased, Chris?
Possibly, yeah.
Okay.
And so they're coming out, but what's amazing about it is when the actual safety is improving, reports are coming out saying it's going down, and insurance rates are going to go up. And it probably in our area because of this.
Yeah.
Since pot sales became legal.
2 years of data is not enough to allow us to draw conclusions, to come up with an explanation of what is safe, what is not safe.
Holy crap.
Isn't that state patrol officer like just right on the money?
He is totally right. Because you cannot.
It's like this is his daily job and he lives it or something.
And you can't determine a pattern based on 2 years of data. It's not enough data.
Brian Vicente represents pot shops and played a major role in Colorado's legalization.
Typically, you can drink 1 beer and drive, but if you have 3, you're over the limit. States are taking a hard look to try to figure out what is that 3-beer limit for marijuana.
There have been tragedies from mixing marijuana and driving. Last year, high school student Chad Britton was killed by a teen driver high on pot. And while pot may be legal, impaired driving is not, even though it's that much harder to detect.
Now, this is going to be interesting to watch because in Nevada, unless something comes up, July 1st is the big day.
Well, some people are excited about this while others are not. Recreational marijuana is scheduled to go on sale this Saturday, and today the state's tax commission, well, they will vote to approve emergency legislation signed by the governor. Now, it creates labeling guidelines here for recreational marijuana users, meaning that packages will have warnings about the effects of pot. And
that's always so funny. Like that'll help.
Or like cigarettes, it will kill you.
Dispensaries can't sell products that appeal to children. The state also plans to issue licenses this week so dispensaries can sell this weekend.
Just no reason, but I was just kind of Googling and it looks like there's going to be 25 licensed in the Vegas area.
Yeah, and I was actually reading too that there will be at least 1 on the Strip.
Wow, that is going to be huge for Vegas.
Oh, I sent a note to my wife. I was just like, Vegas is going to change dramatically.
You know what the irony is
casinos are going to get involved. Watch.
Sheldon, or what's the guy's name? Allison. What's the huge casino guy? He's
well, there you got Wynn. You got
it's Sheldon something. Oh, I'm sorry. Anyways, he's put millions and millions and millions of dollars in trying to block cannabis legalization.
Too late.
And he's a huge owner down in Vegas.
But here's what's going to happen, Chris. He put all his money in, and now what's going to happen? He's going to get right into it. Watch.
Yeah, well, because you're gonna have people there. They're having a good time. They're going to be buying food.
Yeah.
They're going to be drinking. They're going to be mixing stuff, which is not going to be safe for a lot of noobs that fly into the area. And they probably be making all kinds of stupid choices.
Oh, you mean $500 down on rolling craps? All right, fine.
People are going to come into Vegas to party like crazy now.
Oh,
people that don't have experience with this stuff, and they're going to make choices. They're going to make these companies a lot of money.
Movie stars were already doing it. Now the common folk can do it. as well.
That's very true. Stick around. The overtime is coming up, and it's packed. We got tons of stuff in there. We'd love to have you join us live. You can hang out in our chat room. We got a dedicated chat room. The Unfiltered chat room is at irc.geekshed.net.
Yes.
Live times at jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar. We have a contact page there as well.
Yes.
Don't forget the patron at patreon.com/unfiltered. But Mr. Shea.
Yes, Chris.
Where should people find you throughout the week?
If people want to hang out with me,
What?
I encourage people to jump on my Twitch stream. I do a lot of Twitch streaming, twitch.tv/geekgamertv or ggtvlive.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Nunes, N-U-N-E-S. I'm verified. I'm the other one.
That's right.
Chris, what about you? Vlogs, things, going-ons.
Tweets them at Chris LAS. That's where I tweet them. And if you're in the Vegas area and want to organize an Unfiltered meetup.
Hey, there will be somebody that will tweet at us.
Dude.
And they'll be saying, hey,
Dude,
I'm in Vegas.
Am
come
I
on down.
right or am I wrong? But flights to Vegas aren't that expensive.
You know, Chris, you can really just walk on a plane now. I'm just saying.
That's sure.
I'm
No
just
problem.
saying.
No problem.
Yeah.
Anyways, at Chris LAS. Yeah, check out the vlog too. Just posted something recently.
Have a
Thanks
great
for
4th.
joining us.
Yes.
You guys, have a great 4th. Don't forget the calendar page for future schedule changes. Subscribe. And the live feed, if YouTube cooperates, is posted for everyone at patreon.com/unfiltered.
Nice.
Thanks for being here.
See you next week.
I'm like,
So
shit,
you know,
I could be convinced into getting a steak tonight. I was like, I could be convinced.
Yeah.
JBTitles.com. JBTitles.
So speaking of burgers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did you hear that Costco
What?
is testing
What?
a burger
No. Like
in their food court?
Shut the here?
Not in Marysville.
Have you heard any news on that?
But yes, it will be tested soon in Linwood.
I wonder how
And
that
two
would-
other, I think, Issaquah and one other location. Basically, and they're also testing it in Southern California. It's for $4.99. It's a 3-pound patty. Yeah, they're going to be testing out a burger.
I feel like the first few people that get a chance to vlog that are going to get some views. JBTitles.com.
JBTitles!
You should do it, dude. You should get your ass to wherever they have it, and you should vlog the S out of it.
By the way, speaking of vlogs, I went on Sunday to a WWE event in Everett.
Oh, yeah?
I sat front row with my dad, took him there for Father's Day. It was a week gift.
JBTitles.com.
And loads of fun. Loads of fun. I got to take you to a wrestling match one of these days.
Yeah, I really liked it. Huh?
Oh, yeah, it was great. Loads of fun. Big WWE fan.
I feel like Nothing Burger could be in the title.
I like Nothing Burger.
But what would the title around Nothing Burger be?
2 all-beef patties.
Russian
special
Nothing
sauce on a
Burger?
Sesame seed run. What?
What about Russian Nothing Burger?
Ooh, a Russian Nothing Burger.
I submitted Nothing Burger secret sauce.
I like Russian Nothing Burger because that's really what it is. It's really a Russian Nothing Burger. Well, at least right now, anyway. We don't know what's going on. What we don't know.
We don't know. We don't know.
Exactly.
That's what your good friend,
my buddy.
What's his face?
Mucker Carlson.
No, Bush's buddy.
Oh,
Rumsfeld, who always said, "We don't know. We don't know." Yeah,
Donald Rumsfeld.
The Russian Nothing Burger is going up the charts fast. What is Russian dressing? I've heard. Is that good?
I've never had Russian dressing.
Russian salad dressing. I saw it on a menu recently, and I thought, oh, that'd be ironic. I should order that. Russian Nothing Burger. I kind of like going with that. What do you think the picture should be for a Russian Nothing Burger? Should it be Van Jones? Should it be CNN somehow? Should it?
I think it should just be a
We usually
burger.
do a face.
Yeah.
Well, we usually do a face. We usually do
Yeah.
a person. For like a long time now, it's been a person.
I just think that a lot of them are guilty with this. A lot of them. And so just
Yeah.
to throw it on CNN, it's not just CNN.
I agree. Yeah. Okay. All right. So how do you?
I don't know. Yeah, it's a good. I don't know.
What is the face of this episode?
We need to build a wall.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do,
Boy,
Chris.
it's been a little while since I've heard that.
Yeah, what happened to that anyway?
Well, I think this. I think he's been busy.
Look at those numbers.
Just look at them.
Empty burger with a CNN logo on it. That's a lot of work for me though. Oh man. Just an empty bun would be good, though. I wonder if I could find just an empty bun. It has to be big if anybody wants to look for me. Empty burger bun. That's what Nancy Pelosi said. I love winning.
You know the midterms are going to be crazy, right?
Crazy! Yeah, I might go with this. If I can find one that doesn't have logos all over it.
What's that?
This is watermarked to hell, though.
Oh, you'll be able to find that.
It's actually Google. Google is the worst. Google Images is the worst with that. All these are watermarked.
You know what I've been using for image searching? You're going to laugh.
You're going to say Bing.
I am.
Yeah, but their stuff's still on.
I know, but I find their interface is a little bit better for images.
Man, I just wish that wasn't watermarked. That would be perfect if that wasn't watermarked. You know, the Russian nothing burger, and it's just that. That's great.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it is breaking tradition of a face, though.
Yeah, I know, but then you put the map of Russia.
I'm not doing a whole bunch of work. I want to eat I'm going to go get a steak.
And then what you need to do, Chris, is do a little Photoshop, and then you need to massage the picture a little bit.
The Russia thing is just what? That already exists? Holy shit, dude.
Yeah. Wow.
Where's that from?
Bottom right at Repub Girl Probs.
Wow. Holy shit.
Republican Probs? I don't know.
I feel like I could almost use that, but it's probably not a props to use somebody else's thing like that because it's not like it's not like a popular culture thing I'm parodying. I would just be jacking somebody's work.
Wow, man, you need to clean those filters.
Clean your filter, dude. That's not bad. That's not bad.
All right, so we have a title, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think so. Producer Matt was saying we should combine them, but I was thinking Russian nothing burger is probably good. I like that. We need just the bottom bun, though, I think. I guess we could go with that. Yeah, I guess. Well, all right. We'll go with something. Thank you, guys. That's not bad. I could go with that if Demerit.
Is it demerit?
I don't know.
I think it's demerit.
We're going to go with Freck Labs title, though, so there you go.
All right.
All right. That means we're out of here. Thank you. Whoa. That's intense. Does that work, though, dude? Do you think that works?
Yeah, totally. But I think you need to have the top part of the bun. You got to have the crown.
Do you?
You got to have the crown.
But look at that. That's so...
That just looks like a...
Jeez, that's exactly what he found it on Wendy's website, dude. It's amazing. That is so awesome. Good find.
I like Russian Baconator, by the way. That's funny.
Russian Baconator is really funny. Russian Baconator is good.
Drive-in at Wendy's. Yes,
oh, my God.
I'd like to get a Russian Baconator. I'm sorry, sir. We don't have that on the menu.
So, Verituna, do they have the top available as a PNG, too? Because then I could put text between it. Do they have the top?
Did you hear Jonathan Frakes is going to direct an episode of Star Trek Discovery?
We
haven't talked about Discovery.
No, I know, because you know where that's going to lead.
I know exactly where that's going to lead. It's going to lead into my happy zone.
Come on, guys! You did so good, Verituna, with that bottom bun. If we had a matching top bun,
you got a power bottom and a soft top.
The Russian Baconator is funny.
Well.
All right. Oh my God. Now my allergies are kicking up.
Yeah, now I'm hungry.
Yeah, seriously. All right. Well, I love your faces anyways.
Have a great weekend. If you're in the U.S. and you celebrate the 4th grade, hey, happy Canada Day coming up for all your Canadian friends.
Enjoy America's birthday.
Enjoy the Canadian birthday. By the way, big Canada birthday, 150 for them.
Oh, look at them. They're doing so good.
I know. We're proud. And we could have almost had half of the country, if that War of 1812 didn't get in the way.
Do.
Yeah, we just gave it to them.
Well, guys, I'm bunless, but I appreciate the effort.
We're not going to have the STD talk yet, WWNSX, but soon. Soon we will.
Maybe.
Maybe.
All right, guys, have a good one.
Love your faces. Bye.